On a sunny morning, something unusual happened. I heard footsteps coming into the house. It was Kevin and Elizabeth, carrying a lot of luggage. They were breathing heavily, but when they saw me, they smiled sarcastically and said, "We're moving in with you today. If you don't like it, divorce me and leave." I was shocked, but Kevin and Elizabeth started setting up their things in the living room. Then, Stella came in, looking sorry. I quietly said, "It's okay, but are you sure about this?" Kevin looked pale when he heard me. He quickly ran out of the house. A few minutes later, he called me, yelling so loud that even Elizabeth could hear it. "Are you serious? Why didn't you say anything before?" I calmly replied, "I thought I mentioned it." After a pause, Kevin said, "Anyway, I'm coming back," and hung up suddenly. Elizabeth seemed like she might faint from Kevin's yelling. I said, "I'm actually looking forward to Kevin coming back," which made Elizabeth twitch in surprise. I added, "Get ready, the trouble's just starting. My name is Madison, and I'm 45 years old. I work in an office, and last year, I got transferred to a very busy department, so I've been working a lot. I married Kevin when I was 40. We met at a company party where Kevin was a guest, and we hit it off because we're both from the same hometown. Kevin is 5 years older than me and is very confident, which was perfect for me because I had almost given up on marriage by that time. We dated for a year and got married without a wedding ceremony because Kevin thought it was a waste of money, which made me a little sad, but looking back, I wish I had thought more about the marriage before agreeing. "Hey, you didn't do the laundry again, did you?" Kevin asked. He was what people call a henpecked husband. Before we got married, he lived alone and could do housework, but after we married, he started saying men shouldn't do housework. He refused to do it and told me, "I'll do it tonight," since I got home late from work. I replied, "Coming home to be yelled at just makes me more tired." Kevin, upset with my response, raised his eyebrows and said, "Don't talk back. Who do you think brings home the food you eat?" Honestly, I earn more money than Kevin. He knew this when we got married, and we agreed on both of us working, but after a year of marriage, it felt like he had completely forgotten that. I used to argue with him, but as Kevin kept getting angrier and shouting more, I stopped. I quickly started apologizing just to keep the peace. "I'm sorry, it was my fault." Kevin replied, "Do you really think so?" "Yes, thank you," I said. "It's because of your hard work that we can live this life." This would make Kevin happy. He'd hum a tune and then go take a bath. At first, I thought his henpecked behavior was kind of manly, but after 3 years, I was getting tired of it. I didn't choose divorce though, because my in-laws were such wonderful people. I'd go out to lunch with my mother-in-law, Mia, once a month, and my father-in-law, Ricky, would give me birthday gifts. At their house, Kevin was kind and smiled, and we had good times together. My own parents had passed away when I was young, so my in-laws were like real parents to me. That's why I hesitated to divorce Kevin. But there was one thing I couldn't stand, Elizabeth, Kevin's sister-in-law, who lived nearby. Elizabeth had divorced because of her affair and now lived alone in an apartment. When I heard about her affair, I started to dislike her. Elizabeth didn't like me either and would badmouth me in front of Kevin, who always supported her instead of reprimanding her. Elizabeth had a daughter named Stella, who lived with her ex-husband. Stella was the spitting image of Elizabeth, but she had a completely different, kind personality. Stella was a very good girl. She used to visit Elizabeth about twice a month, and each time, Elizabeth would bring Stella to our house. "Just a minute, Madison. Please feed Stella something delicious. I'm heading out," Elizabeth would say as she left. "Thanks, bye," Elizabeth would say quickly and leave without waiting for me to respond. Every time, Stella would apologize, and I couldn't ignore such a sweet girl like her. So, I ended up feeding her and taking her out to different places. "Madison, thank you, as always," Stella would say. "It's okay, did you have fun?" I'd ask. "Yes, it was really fun, can I come again?" "Of course," I'd say, smiling as Stella watched my face, shyly asking. I couldn't say no to her. Since I didn't have children of my own, I found Stella very endearing, but I also thought it wasn't good that her real mom, Elizabeth, was never around when Stella visited. So, I decided to ask Kevin, "Hey, whenever Stella comes, Elizabeth is never around, can't she spend a little more time with her?" I only wanted the best for Stella, but Kevin didn't take it that way. His face turned red with anger, and he shouted, "Elizabeth is hurt from her divorce. Unlike you, she's delicate, and yet, you blame her?" I tried to explain, "No, it's not like that. I was just wondering where she goes every time after dropping Stella off. Kevin snapped. There's no need for you to know, just shut up and listen. I didn't say anything more. Kevin wasn't listening to me at all. After a few more apologies from me, Kevin calmed down and started getting ready to leave. I'm heading out, he said. Where are you going? I asked. It's my business. You just stay quiet and say, have a nice day, Kevin yelled as he slammed the door and left. Alone in the quiet room, I cried. It was then that I seriously started to think about divorce, but I hesitated because of my in-laws. A little later, Mia, my mother-in-law, invited me to lunch, and I decided to go after a long time. Where are you going on your day off? Kevin asked. I'm going to lunch with Kevin's mom, I replied. Just don't talk about Elizabeth, Kevin warned me. Why not? I asked, not understanding what Kevin meant. Kevin shouted in frustration, can't you think a little? You're really stupid, just go already and don't talk about Elizabeth. Before I could respond, Kevin shoved me out of the house. Still upset, I went to meet Mia, and we talked over lunch. By the way, Elizabeth is coming over, right? Mia asked. Huh, you knew? I said. I thought so. Mia sighed deeply and then apologized to me. Apparently, Stella had told Mia that she was bothering me by visiting. I thought I raised her strictly, but maybe it's a reaction, Mia said. She's into nightclubs. Nightclubs? I asked, surprised. That's right, Mia replied. She seems to have a lot of debt. I was shocked by Mia's words. When Elizabeth came to our house, she always wore expensive clothes and seemed well off. When I told Mia this, Mia looked even more troubled. That child, we've cut ties with her, Madison. You should too, Mia said. Kevin's probably spoiling Elizabeth. Mia then told me something surprising. When Elizabeth's affair was exposed, Kevin kept supporting her. He even paid off her debts. Hearing this was an eye-opener for me. I'm thinking of divorcing Kevin, I told Mia. I'm sorry for the trouble, I added. That's all right, I'll support you, Mia said, holding my hand. I thought about how things might have been if my own mom were alive, and I started making plans for the divorce. I worked on the preparations carefully so Kevin wouldn't notice. Hoping to wake Kevin up to the truth, I casually mentioned Elizabeth's debts, but Kevin wouldn't listen. As I faced more of Kevin's yelling, I realized I no longer felt any love for him. With the help of my in-laws, I gathered enough evidence and learned some shocking truths. Then, the day of action came unexpectedly. On a sunny morning, which was rare these days, I heard footsteps coming into the living room. It was Kevin and Elizabeth, carrying a lot of luggage. They were out of breath, but when they saw me, they smiled sarcastically and said, "We're moving in with you starting today. If you don't like it, divorce me and leave." Ignoring my shock, Kevin and the others began spreading their things around the living room. Then, Stella, looking apologetic, followed them in. I quietly said, "It's okay, but are you sure about this?" Kevin turned pale when he heard me, then rushed out of the house. A few minutes later, he called. When I answered, he started shouting so loudly that even Elizabeth could hear it. "Are you kidding me? Why didn't you say anything before?" he yelled. "I thought I mentioned it," I said calmly. After a pause, Kevin replied, "Anyway, I'm coming back," and then hung up suddenly. Elizabeth looked like she might faint from Kevin's yelling. "I'm actually looking forward to Kevin coming back," I said. At my words, Elizabeth's shoulders tensed in surprise. "Get ready, the trouble is just beginning," I added. When Kevin returned, he immediately confronted Elizabeth. "Elizabeth, what's this about your debts? I didn't know anything about it," he asked. "It's just a small debt," Elizabeth answered, avoiding eye contact. I couldn't help but laugh at her response. Elizabeth glared at me, so I decided to respond. "Really, Elizabeth? Calling $150,000 a small debt? I couldn't call such a huge amount a small debt." Elizabeth turned to me with a face that looked like she might cry when I casually mentioned the amount, but I had no intention of letting her off easily. "The guy from the nightclub, he recently got married, right?" Elizabeth got dumped, huh? Kevin asked. "I'm not dumped," Elizabeth snapped. "Once I get this house, he'll come back to me, and when we sell this place, we'll use the money." Elizabeth had accidentally revealed her plan and looked at Kevin with a guilty expression. Kevin, confused, kept glancing back and forth between Elizabeth and me. I decided to tell Kevin the truth. "Elizabeth plans to kick me out. Then you and she will sell the house. With the money, she'll pay off her debts and fund her nightclub guy. What the hell is that? Kevin asked, stunned. He couldn't believe his sister was using him like this. Is this all a lie? Kevin asked, his voice shaking. I want to live with Stella, so let us stay, I said, trying to reason with him. I was planning to work and support both you and Stella. Hearing Kevin's words, my head ached. He couldn't support his wife, but he was planning to support his sister and niece. Elizabeth defiantly replied, you're just an ATM, big brother. Once we sell the house, I can go back to him. Won't you listen to my request? ATM? What's that about? Kevin asked, clearly confused. Enough, Elizabeth, Kevin shouted in frustration. The two of them kept yelling at each other, and it felt ugly and ridiculous. I wasn't the one who spoke up though, it was Stella. Enough, both of you, Stella said. I don't want to live together. I only came here today to say goodbye. What do you mean? Elizabeth and Kevin both asked, shocked. They stopped fighting and turned to look at Stella. Stella sighed deeply, then looked at Elizabeth with a cool, distant gaze. She started to speak slowly. Mom, you're not interested in my life, right? I think I told you before, but I'm going to study abroad starting high school, so, today I'm here to tell you goodbye. I never heard anything like that. Elizabeth raised her voice in shock. Stella looked at her with clear disdain. Because you never really listen to me, you're always chasing after men. I don't need a mom like that. Madison is my mom. What do you mean? Elizabeth glared at Stella, as if she were an enemy, but I was just as surprised. Stella walked up to me and hugged me tightly. Thank you for holding my hand, for the delicious meals, for listening, and for taking me places. You felt like a real mom. Stella's words warmed my heart. I felt so fulfilled and happy, as if everything I had done for her had finally paid off. I never had children, so I often worried if I was interacting with Stella the right way. That's why I was even more moved by her words. Stella, I too am happy to be with you. Do your best over there, I said, wiping away my tears. Stella smiled at me. Yeah, I want to call and send messages. Is that okay? Of course, I said, and we shared a laugh. Elizabeth watched us, resentfully, then, with a smug smile, as if she had an idea, she started laughing. Stella, I'll go with you. It's hard to live there alone, isn't it? Let's live together. They'll pay for our living expenses, right? I was astounded by her audacity, and Stella beside me looked just as disgusted, but Elizabeth, unaware of our reactions, continued to fantasize about life after going abroad. Mom, while Stella's at school, we can go to the beach or shopping. When she's working her part-time job, I'll take a nap. At night, I'll go out a bit. Elizabeth only talked about leisure, with no mention of work. Stella looked at her with contempt and suddenly burst into laughter. What's so funny? Elizabeth asked angrily. It's hilarious, Stella said. Why would I want to live with you? Besides, I'm going to be in a dormitory, so you can't come. Elizabeth's face turned red with anger, but before she could lash out at Stella, someone interrupted. Enough already, came a deep voice. Ricky suddenly appeared in the living room, surprising Elizabeth. Mia was with him, looking angry. I heard from Madison and came here. How long are you going to keep troubling everyone? Mia said sharply. Mom, this is a misunderstanding. Stella decided this on her own. Elizabeth tried to explain. But Mia stepped forward, raised her hand, and a loud slap echoed in the living room. The room fell silent. Elizabeth was the first to speak. That's awful. You hit me. Mia retorted. You deserve it. I should have stepped in sooner. I left you alone after all the trouble you caused for Madison. We've arranged for you to stay with a relative. We're leaving now, Mia said. Elizabeth turned pale and looked to Kevin for help, but he avoided her gaze. Feeling betrayed, Elizabeth was led out of the house by Ricky. Kevin looked at me, pale-faced, and said, Hey, I'm sorry, I should have listened to Madison more. I'll listen from now on. Mia retorted, surprised by Kevin's casual words. What a naive thought. She continued, emotionlessly, I told you before not to involve yourself with Elizabeth, especially when you're married, but you didn't listen. Now, the only choice left is divorce. Kevin looked at me, shocked, and I smiled at him, feeling slightly relieved. I then prepared to drop the bombshell. Let's get a divorce. I'll also claim alimony for your verbal abuse, and maybe for infidelity too, I said. Kevin stumbled over his words, trying to act innocent. Infidelity? What are you talking about? I felt pathetic for ever thinking such a man could be reliable. I pulled out several photos from my bag and showed them to Kevin. Do you recognize this woman? Did you take secret photos? If someone is doing something they shouldn't, isn't it their fault? Kevin, seemingly out of excuses, stayed silent. Looking frustrated, I laid out some documents and had him sign them. After everything was finalized, I smiled at him and said, "Thank you for everything. Even though I made more money, did all the housework, and handled everything else, it was me who took care of everything, so take care, and don't forget the payments." Kevin had nothing more to say. I said goodbye to Mia and left our house. I arranged to pick up my belongings later and stayed at a nearby hotel. After dropping Stella off at her home, I finally had a clean room, a soft bed, and a space without anyone to complain. That's when I truly regained my freedom after 5 years. The next day, I promptly filed for divorce and became truly free. Mia called to apologize and assured me that Kevin would deposit the alimony within a week, which he did in full. Since Kevin had little savings left from giving money to Elizabeth, the in-laws had paid the alimony in advance. They told me not to worry, as they would get Kevin to repay it in full. Kevin lost his job and ended up living with a different relative. He was sent to a farm where he worked from dawn to dusk without any holidays. Escape was impossible without a car, and the mountain roads were too much for Kevin, who had never driven them. I thought it was tough, but I didn't feel sorry for him. Kevin's affair partner was a club girl who only saw him as a paying customer. She didn't even know he was married and apologized when I met her. She even returned the branded bags Kevin had given her, which I sold and used the money for lunches with Stella. Elizabeth was sent to live with relatives near the sea, working from sunrise every day. Her once well-maintained hair and nails were now a mess. She had fallen behind on child support payments for Stella, and the relatives had to cover it, so now she worked unpaid. I could only hope she might change her ways. Stella, on the other hand, successfully went abroad and now lives in an overseas dormitory. She's gotten close to a girl she shares a room with, and I get messages about their daily adventures. She's planning to bring her friend for a visit during a long break, and I've agreed to host them for sightseeing. As for me, my days are still busy, but without the marriage, my chores are halved, and there's no one to complain. It's a different kind of busy, but much more fulfilling. When I dropped Stella off, I met her dad, Elizabeth's ex-husband, for the first time. He's a nice guy, and we exchanged contacts. We kept in touch about Stella and eventually started going out together. I found peace just being with him, something I never had with Kevin. Even I'm a bit surprised by these feelings. Stella is thrilled about me seeing him. Recently, during a video call, she asked, "When are you getting remarried?" I told her I'm not thinking about it yet, but if he feels the same, maybe someday. To me, Stella is like a true daughter, and she feels the same. Becoming a real family would make me incredibly happy. With that hope in my heart, I had to work today as well.
Thanks for watching the house, Lynn. You're such a lifesaver. The text came with a photo of my sister Lexis lounging poolside at the Coral Bay Resort, her perfectly manicured nails wrapped around a cocktail that probably cost more than my weekly grocery budget. My name is Linda, and I was sitting in my parents' marble-clad kitchen, staring at their designer coffee machine I didn't know how to operate, wondering how I'd become the family's unpaid house-sitter while they lived it up in paradise. Seriously, though, I muttered to Princess, my parents' pampered white poodle, who was giving me judgmental looks from her custom bed. How did we get here? The answer, unfortunately, was a conversation from 3 weeks ago that still made my stomach churn. I'd been grading papers at my kitchen table, my actual kitchen table, the wobbly IKEA one with coffee stains, when Mom called. "Linda, darling, we need to talk." Her voice had that syrupy tone she used when she was about to deliver bad news wrapped in fake concern. "What's up, Mom?" "Well, the family's planning a little getaway to Coral Bay Resort. You know, the one featured in Architectural Digest. 5-star, absolutely divine." I'd felt a flutter of excitement. A family vacation sounded amazing. "That sounds incredible. When are we—" "Oh, sweetie." The pause stretched long enough for me to realize where this was heading. "We've been talking, and we think it might be better if you sat this one out." The words hit like a slap. "Excuse me?" It's just that the resort is quite upscale, and we know how you feel about those kinds of places. Remember how uncomfortable you were at Lexis's engagement party at the country club? All those sideways looks when you showed up in that, what was it, Target dress? I'd loved that dress. It was navy blue, simple, elegant. Or so I'd thought. Mum, I can handle a nice resort. Of course you can, darling, but think about the expense. The spa treatments, the fine dining, the shopping excursions. We'd hate for you to feel left out when you can't participate in everything. Dad's voice had boomed in the background. Tell her about the house sitting. Right, we were hoping you could watch the house and take care of Princess. You know how she gets with strangers, and the house sitter we usually use is booked. It would be such a help. I'd sat there, phone pressed to my ear, watching my reflection in my laptop screen. 31 years old, college-educated, employed, responsible, and somehow still the family charity case. How long is this trip? Just a week, maybe 10 days if we decide to extend. The weather's supposed to be perfect. And everyone else is going. Lexis, Cade, even Scarlett. Scarlett wasn't even family, just Mum's friend who'd somehow become a permanent fixture at family events. Well, yes, Lexis is bringing her photographer for some content creation. You know how important her brand is. And Cade's been so stressed with his new business venture. He needs this. Cade's business venture was a cryptocurrency podcast with 12 subscribers. But sure. What about Naomi? My cousin was usually my only ally at family gatherings. Naomi's coming too, of course. She's family. The message was clear. Everyone was family except me. I see. You understand, don't you, sweetheart? We're just looking out for you, protecting you from an uncomfortable situation. I'd wanted to scream. Instead, I'd heard myself saying, Sure, Mum, I understand. Wonderful. We'll drop Princess off tomorrow. The house key is in the usual spot. Oh, and Linda, this stays between us, okay? No need to make the others feel guilty about having a nice time. Now, 3 weeks later, I was living in their McMansion, sleeping in my childhood bedroom that had been converted into Mum's craft room, surrounded by half-finished scrapbooks and expensive art supplies she'd used exactly once. My phone buzzed again. This time, it was the family group chat, the one I was mysteriously never added to, but somehow received screenshots from. Cade had posted a video of himself jet skiing, captioned, Living my best life, the your blessed vacation, hot Kelly family vibes. Then Lexis, sunset dinner at Maria. The lobster here is insane, as luxury, life, heart your family time. Even Scarlett had chimed in. So grateful to be included in this amazing family adventure. The Kellys know how to do it right. I screenshot the messages and sent them to my best friend Sarah with a single word. Really? She called immediately. Are you kidding me right now? Nope, they're posting their luxury vacation while I'm here cleaning their toilets and walking their dog. This is insane, Linda. Even for your family, this is next level cruel. I walked to the window, overlooking their perfectly manicured backyard. The worst part is, I actually believed Mum when she said it was for my own good, like I'm some kind of fragile flower who can't handle a nice hotel. You teach high school English. You deal with teenagers all day. You can handle anything. Apparently not a 5-star resort. Have you seen how much this place costs per night? I hadn't actually. Why? I looked it up. We're talking 15 grand minimum for a week, probably more with all their spa treatments and fancy dinners. $15,000. I made that in a month before taxes. Must be nice, I muttered. Linda, you need to stop letting them treat you like this. What am I supposed to do? They're my family. Family doesn't exclude you and then rub it in your face. After we hung up, I found myself wandering through their house, really looking at it for the first time. The marble countertops, the crystal chandeliers, the original artwork. Everything screamed money, money they claimed I wouldn't be comfortable around. Princess followed me, her little nails clicking on the hardwood floors. "What do you think, Princess? Am I really that embarrassing?" She tilted her head, and for a moment I could swear she looked sympathetic. My phone buzzed again. Another family photo, this one of all of them dressed up for dinner, glasses raised in a toast. The caption read, "To family, the people who matter most." I wasn't in the photo. I wasn't even in their thoughts. The house felt like a museum after 3 days alone. Every surface gleamed, every pillow sat perfectly arranged, and every family photo seemed to mock me from its expensive frame. I'd taken to eating cereal for dinner just to spite the fully stocked gourmet kitchen. "At least you appreciate me, right, Princess?" I said, scratching behind her ears as she curled up next to me on the forbidden white couch. My phone lit up with another notification. This time, it was a video call from the group chat. I could see the preview, all of them crowded around a phone screen, tropical drinks in hand, the ocean sparkling behind them. I declined the call. Immediately, my phone started ringing. "Mum." "Linda, why didn't you answer the group call?" "I'm busy, house-sitting, like you asked." "We wanted to show you the sunset. It's absolutely breathtaking here." "I'm sure it is." "You sound upset, darling. What's wrong?" I looked around at their palace, then down at my pyjama pants and oversized teaching conference t-shirt. "Nothing's wrong, Mom. Just tired." "Well, you should see the spa here. I had the most incredible massage today. And the food. Last night we had this 7-course tasting menu that was just Mom. And Lexi's got the most amazing content for her Instagram. The photographer she brought is just brilliant. He's been taking these stunning shots of all of us by the infinity pool." "Mum, I need to go." "Oh, of course. We're about to head to the casino anyway. Cade's feeling lucky tonight." After she hung up, I sat in their silent house, staring at the chandelier above the dining table, where I'd eaten exactly 0 meals growing up, because we always ate in the casual dining room. The formal one was for guests, important people. I wandered upstairs to Dad's home office, a room I'd barely been allowed in as a kid. His desk was massive, mahogany, covered with important-looking papers and expensive pens he probably never used. That's when I remembered. My emergency credit card. I'd given it to them 3 years ago, when Dad had some temporary cash flow issues with his business. "Just for emergencies," he'd said. "We'll never use it unless it's absolutely necessary." I kept it in my wallet, but I'd left a backup card here in Dad's desk drawer in case they ever needed it for a real emergency. I pulled open the drawer where I'd left it, behind his collection of Mont Blanc pens. Empty. I checked the other drawers. Nothing. "Okay, that's weird," I muttered, trying to remember if I'd moved it somewhere else. My phone buzzed with a text from Lexis. "OMG, the room service here is insane. We ordered champagne and strawberries for a midnight snack. Living like queens." Then another from Cade. "Just won $500 at blackjack. This vacation keeps getting better." I stared at the messages, something cold settling in my stomach. When was the last time I'd checked my credit card statements? I was usually obsessive about it, but I'd been so busy with end-of-semester grading. I grabbed my laptop and logged into my banking app, scrolling through recent transactions. Grocery store, gas station, Amazon order for classroom supplies, Netflix subscription. Then I saw it. Coral Bay Resort and Spa, 15 yen. Boy 783. The charge was from 4 days ago, the day they'd arrived. What the hell? I clicked on the transaction details, my hands shaking. The charge was definitely from the resort. The same resort where my family was currently living it up while I house-sat like some kind of unpaid servant. My phone rang. Sarah. "Hey, how's the house-sitting going? Are you slowly going insane yet?" "Sarah, I think my family stole my credit card." "What?" I explained about the missing card and the charge. Sarah was quiet for a long moment. Linda, that's not just stealing. That's fraud. That's a felony. It has to be a mistake. Maybe the resort mixed up the payment method or something. A $15,000 mistake? Come on. I was already pulling up the resort's website, looking for a contact number. I'll call them. There has to be an explanation. Linda, wait. Before you call, think about this. Your family excluded you from this vacation, made you feel like garbage about not being able to afford it, and then secretly used your money to pay for it. We don't know that's what happened, don't we? I hung up and immediately called the resort. Coral Bay Resort, this is Jerry speaking. How can I help you? Hi, I'm calling about a charge on my credit card, Linda Kelly. There's a charge for over $15,000 from 4 days ago, and I think there might be some mistake. Let me look that up for you. Can you provide the last 4 digits of the card? I gave him the information, my heart pounding. I see the charge here. This was for a premium ocean view suite, spa packages, dining credits, and activities for a party of 6. The reservation was made by Alexis Kelly. Are you related? She's my sister. The card was provided at check-in as the primary payment method for all charges during the stay. My vision blurred. All charges? Yes, Mum, any additional expenses during their stay will be charged to this card as well. I hung up without saying goodbye. They'd used my card, my emergency credit card that was supposed to be for actual emergencies. They'd used it to pay for their luxury vacation while telling me I couldn't come because I couldn't afford it. My phone buzzed again. Another family photo, this one of them all dressed up for some fancy dinner, champagne glasses raised. The caption read, "So blessed to be here with the people who matter most. Family, sage grateful, sage living, or best life." I screenshot it and sent it to Sarah with a message. They're using my money to pay for the vacation I was too poor to attend. She called immediately. I'm coming over. Sarah, you don't need to. I'm coming over right now. Don't do anything until I get there. After she hung up, I sat in Dad's office chair, staring at the empty drawer where my credit card should have been. Princess wandered in and sat at my feet, looking up at me with those big, sympathetic eyes. They really did it, didn't they, Princess? They actually stole from me. She whined softly like she understood. My phone lit up with another notification. A fraud alert from my bank. Unusual spending pattern detected on your account. Please verify recent charges or call our fraud hotline immediately. Even my bank knew something was wrong. I was still staring at the alert when another text came through, this one from Mom. Having the most wonderful time. You would have loved the sunset tonight. Miss you. The audacity was breathtaking. Sarah arrived 20 minutes later with a bottle of wine and murder in her eyes. Show me everything, she said, not even bothering with hello. I pulled up my banking app on my laptop. Look at this, $15,000, and according to the resort, any additional charges go on my card too. Jesus Christ, Linda, this is insane. Sarah poured herself a glass of wine without asking. What did your parents say when you confronted them? I haven't confronted them yet. What? Why not? Because I wanted to be sure before I accused my own family of stealing from me. Sarah gave me a look. Honey, the evidence is right there. Your missing card, the charge, the timing. What more do you need? I was about to answer when my phone buzzed with a text from Naomi. Hey, cuz, hope you're doing okay house sitting. Family seems to be having a blast. Kinda wish I was home, though. This place is a bit much for me. Wait, I said, showing Sarah the text. Naomi's there too. She might know something. I called her immediately. Linda, how's Princess treating you? She's fine. Naomi, can I ask you something? How did everyone pay for this vacation? I mean, it's pretty expensive. There was a pause. I'm not really sure. I just paid my own way. Why? Did you see how Mum and Dad paid? or Lexis? Actually, that's weird you mention it. I saw Lexis hand over a credit card at check-in, but she was being really secretive about it, wouldn't let anyone see it. My stomach dropped. What do you mean secretive? She covered it with her hand when she gave it to the front desk guy. And when Cade asked whose card it was, she just said, "Don't worry about it," and changed the subject. Sarah was making throat-slitting gestures at me. Naomi, this is going to sound crazy, but I think they used my credit card. What? No way! That's not possible. I'm looking at a $15,000 charge on my account right now, from your resort, from the day you guys checked in. Oh my God. Linda, are you serious? Dead serious? I need to think about this. Let me see what I can find out without being obvious about it. After we hung up, Sarah was pacing around the kitchen. This is fraud, Linda. Plain and simple. You need to call the police. They're my family. They're criminals. They stole $15,000 from you. Maybe there's an explanation. Stop! Sarah slammed her wineglass down. Stop making excuses for them. They excluded you from a family vacation, made you feel like garbage about your finances, and then secretly used your money to pay for it. There's no innocent explanation for that. I knew she was right, but the thought of calling the police on my own family made me sick. Let me see if I can find any other evidence first. I spent the next hour going through Dad's office more thoroughly. In his filing cabinet, I found a folder labelled Vacation Planning. Inside were printouts of the resort booking, activity reservations, spa appointments, everything planned and paid for with my card. But it was the text message screenshots that made my blood boil. There, printed out like some kind of trophy, was a conversation between Mom and Lexis from 2 weeks ago. Mom: Linda's card should cover everything. She never checks her statements anyway. Lexis: Are you sure? What if she finds out? Mom: She won't, and even if she does, what's she going to do? She needs us more than we need her. Lexis: True, plus we can always say it was an emergency or something. Mom: Exactly, she gave us the card for emergencies. This counts. Lexis: A mental health emergency. Perfect. We'll tell her the stress of planning was affecting our health. I read the messages 3 times, each time feeling like I'd been punched in the gut. Sarah, look at this. She read over my shoulder, her face getting redder with each line. I'm calling the police. Wait, I grabbed her arm. Let me try something first. I opened Instagram and searched for Lexis's account. Her latest post was from an hour ago, a video of her getting a massage at the resort spa, captioned, "Sometimes you just need to treat yourself. Life's too short not to live luxuriously. Thanks to my amazing family for making this possible. A blessed, luxury life. I'd start family first." The comments were full of people praising her success and asking how she could afford such an expensive vacation. Her response to one comment made me see red. Hard work pays off. Unlike some people, I don't make excuses about money. I make it happen. She's literally bragging about stealing my money, I said, showing Sarah the phone. That's it. I'm done watching you get walked on. Sarah grabbed my laptop. We're reporting this card stolen right now. Sarah, wait. No, they want to play games? Let's play games. She was already pulling up my bank's website. What's your login? I hesitated for exactly 3 seconds before giving her my information. Fraud reporting, she muttered, clicking through the menus. Here, report unauthorized charges. Boom. What are you doing? I'm reporting your card as stolen and disputing the charges, which is exactly what happened. But they're still at the resort. If the bank freezes the card, then they'll have to figure out how to pay for their luxury vacation themselves, like adults. The form was surprisingly simple. Date of theft, amount of fraudulent charges, brief description of circumstances. Sarah typed, Card was taken without permission and used to pay for vacation I was not invited on. Charges made by family members who had access to my home. Sarah, I don't know about this. Linda, they literally have text messages joking about stealing from you. They called you too poor to come on vacation and then used your money to pay for it. What exactly are you unsure about? She was right. I knew she was right. Submit it, I said quietly. She clicked the button. Done. The bank will freeze the card within the hour and start a fraud investigation. My phone immediately buzzed with a confirmation text from the bank. We've received your fraud report. Your card has been temporarily suspended while we investigate. You will not be responsible for unauthorized charges. What happens now? I asked. Sarah smiled grimly. Now we wait for the fireworks. As if on cue, my phone lit up with a new post from Cade. About to hit the casino again, feeling lucky. This vacation just keeps getting better. Oh, Sarah said, reading over my shoulder, this is going to be good. I barely slept that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I imagined my family's faces when their card got declined. Part of me felt sick about it. The other part felt a dark satisfaction I'd never experienced before. Sarah had crashed on the couch, claiming she wanted to be there for the show. She was making coffee when my phone started buzzing at 7 a.m. It's starting, she said, grinning. The first call was from an unknown number. I let it go to voicemail. Linda, this is Jerry from Coral Bay Resort. We need to speak with you urgently regarding your account. Please call us back as soon as possible. The second call came 5 minutes later. Mum, Linda, darling, we're having a small issue with the payment method here. Can you give us a call when you get this? Her voice was tight, controlled, the voice she used when she was furious but trying to hide it. Should I call her back? I asked Sarah. Absolutely not. Let them sweat. My phone buzzed with a text from Naomi. Linda, something weird is happening. Lexis is freaking out about some payment issue. She's been on the phone with the front desk for an hour. Then another from Cade. Yo sis, call Mom ASAP. Some drama going down here. I screenshot both messages and sent them to Sarah. This is really happening. Good. They deserve every second of panic they're feeling right now. The resort called again. This time, I answered. Miss Linda, this is Jerry from Coral Bay. We spoke yesterday about the charge on your card. Yes, I remember. We're having some issues processing additional charges to your account. Your bank is saying the card has been reported as stolen. That's correct. I reported it stolen yesterday. There was a pause. I see. Well, that puts us in a difficult position. Your family has incurred additional charges since check-in, and we need an alternative payment method immediately. What kind of additional charges? Spa services, room service, casino charges, shopping at our boutique. The total additional amount is currently $8,200 in 4 days. I understand your position, I said, but I can't help you. That card was stolen and used without my permission. Miss Linda, your family is saying this is a misunderstanding. They're asking if you could call them to sort this out. There's no misunderstanding. I did not authorize any charges on that card. Another pause. I see. Well, we'll need to speak with them about alternative payment arrangements then. After I hung up, Sarah was practically bouncing. How much did they spend? Over $8,000 in 4 days, on top of the original 15. Jesus, what do they think you are, a bank? My phone started ringing again. Mum? Don't answer it, Sarah said. I have to eventually. Not yet, let them panic a little more. Instead, I called Naomi. Linda, what the hell is going on? Lexis is having a complete meltdown. She's locked herself in the bathroom and won't come out. What's she saying? Something about the card being frozen and how this is all a huge mistake. Mum's trying to call you, but you're not answering. Dad's yelling at the resort manager. It's chaos. What about you? How are you paying for your stuff? I have my own card, remember? I'm fine. But Linda, they're saying you need to call the bank and fix this. They're acting like it's your fault somehow. My fault? Yeah, like you should have warned them or something. It's really weird. After we hung up, I stared at my phone. 23 missed calls from various family members, dozens of texts ranging from concerned to demanding to downright nasty. The latest one from Lexis made my jaw drop. Linda, I don't know what game you're playing, but you need to fix this right now. You're embarrassing our entire family. People are staring. This is humiliating. Look at this, I showed Sarah the text. The audacity. She steals your money and then blames you for the consequences. My phone rang again. This time, it was a group video call from the family chat. Answer it, Sarah said. I want to see their faces. I accepted the call. The screen filled with chaos. I could see Mom, Dad, Lexis, Cade and Scarlett all crowded around someone's phone. They looked frazzled, stressed and furious. Linda! Mum's voice was shrill. Thank God you answered. We need you to call your bank immediately and clear up this misunderstanding. What misunderstanding? The card being reported stolen. It's obviously a mistake. We're family. Actually, it's not a mistake. I reported it stolen because it was stolen. The silence was deafening. What are you talking about? Dad's voice boomed from off-screen. I'm talking about you taking my credit card without permission and using it to pay for a vacation you specifically excluded me from. Linda, sweetheart, Mum's voice took on that patronizing tone. We had permission. You gave us that card for emergencies. This wasn't an emergency. Of course it was. We needed a family bonding experience. The stress of planning was affecting our health. I couldn't help but laugh. You used the exact excuse from your text messages. What text messages? The ones I found in Dad's office. The ones where you and Lexis joke about me never checking my statements and how I need you more than you need me. The colour drained from Mum's face. Linda, Lexis jumped in, you're being ridiculous. It's just money. Family helps family. Family includes family and vacations. They don't steal from each other. We didn't steal anything, Cade shouted. You're being dramatic. $23,000, Cade. That's how much you've spent on my card. It's not that much. It's more than I make in a month. Suddenly, I could see someone in a uniform approaching them in the background. Hotel security. Folks, we need to resolve this payment issue now, a man's voice said off camera. Linda, Mum's voice was desperate now. Please, just call the bank. Tell them it was a mistake. No. What do you mean, no? I mean, no. You made your choice when you excluded me from this vacation. You made your choice when you took my card without asking. You made your choice when you spent $23,000 of my money while telling me I was too poor to come with you. Linda, be reasonable. I am being reasonable. You want to act like I'm not family. Fine, handle your own problems. Si, if you don't fix this right now, Mum's voice turned cold, you're going to regret it. We're your family. We can make your life very difficult. More difficult than it already is. You've spent years making me feel like I'm not good enough for this family. Well, congratulations. You finally convinced me. I could see the security guard getting closer. Linda, please, Lexis started. I hung up and immediately blocked all their numbers. Holy shit, Sarah said. That was incredible. My hands were shaking, but I felt lighter somehow. Like I'd been holding my breath for years and finally exhaled. What happens now? I asked. Now they figure out how to pay for their own vacation, like adults. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Probably one of them using someone else's phone. But it was from Naomi. Linda, I saw everything. I'm so sorry. I had no idea they were using your money. This is so messed up. At least someone in my family had a conscience. Thanks, I texted back. How bad is it there? Bad. Security is talking to them now. I think they might have to leave. Perfect. 2 hours later, my phone rang from another unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but curiosity got the better of me. Linda, thank God. It was Scarlett, her voice panicked. You have to help us. They're threatening to call the police. Who's threatening to call the police? The resort. They say if we don't pay immediately, they're going to have us arrested for fraud. I put the phone on speaker so Sarah could hear. That sounds like a problem you need to solve, Scarlett. Linda, please. I didn't know they were using your card. I thought they were paying for everything themselves. Then why are you calling me? Because they said you could fix this. Just call your bank and tell them it was a mistake. It wasn't a mistake. But Linda, Scarlett, you're not even family. Why are you involved in this? There was a pause. Your mum said. She said if I helped convince you, they'd pay for my part of the trip too. Of course they did. Well, good luck with that. I hung up and immediately got another call from yet another unknown number. Linda! Cade's voice was frantic. Dude, you have to fix this. They're making us pack our bags. Good. What do you mean, good? This is insane. We're your family. Family doesn't steal from each other, Cade. We didn't steal. We borrowed. Without asking. That's called stealing. Look, I'll pay you back, okay? Just call the bank. With what money? Your podcast doesn't make any money. I'll figure it out. Come on, Linda, don't be like this. Don't be like what? Don't be upset that you spent my rent money on casino chips. It wasn't that much. $8,000 at the casino, Cade. 8,000. The line went quiet. How do you know that? The resort told me. Every charge goes to my card, remember? Shit. Linda, I'm sorry, okay? I got carried away, but you can afford it. You don't have kids or a mortgage or anything. I don't have kids because I can't afford them. I don't have a mortgage because I can't afford one. And now I definitely can't afford anything because you spent $23,000 of my money. Linda, please. I hung up. Sarah was recording everything on her phone. This is better than reality TV. My phone buzzed with a text from Naomi. They're in the lobby with security now. It's really bad. Lexis is crying. Your dad is yelling at everyone. People are taking pictures. People are taking pictures? Another text. Yeah, other guests. Someone recognized Lexis from Instagram. This is going to be all over social media. I couldn't help but smile. Lexis lived for social media attention, just not this kind. My phone rang again. This time, it was a video call from an unknown number. Don't answer it, Sarah said. I want to see what's happening. I accepted the call. The screen showed chaos in what looked like the resort lobby. I could see my entire family huddled together, surrounded by luggage, while a man in a suit, presumably Jerry, the manager, stood nearby with 2 security guards. Linda! Mum's face appeared on screen, tear-streaked and desperate. You have to help us. They're treating us like criminals. You are criminals. You committed credit card fraud. Oh, we're your family. Family doesn't exclude each other from vacations and then steal their money to pay for it. Jerry stepped into view. Miss Linda, this is Jerry from the resort. I need to inform you that if this payment issue isn't resolved in the next 30 minutes, we'll have no choice but to involve local authorities. I understand. That's between you and them. But they're claiming you authorised these charges. I absolutely did not. I've already filed a fraud report with my bank. You have the documentation. Yes, we do. Thank you for clarifying. Jerry stepped away, and suddenly Dad's face filled the screen, red with anger. Linda, you stop this nonsense right now. You're embarrassing this entire family. I'm embarrassing the family. You stole $23,000 from me. We didn't steal anything. That money was just sitting in your account doing nothing. It was my emergency fund. Well, this is an emergency. An emergency you created by excluding me and then stealing from me. Lexis pushed Dad aside, her makeup running down her face. Linda, I'm begging you. My followers are here. People are recording this. You're ruining my brand. Your brand! Your brand is built on stolen money. It's not stolen. We're family. Then why didn't you ask permission? Because, she faltered, because you knew I'd say no. Because you knew this was wrong. Linda, Mum's voice was getting shrill, if you don't fix this right now, you're out of this family. Do you hear me? Out. Good. I never felt like I was in it anyway. You'll regret this. When you need us, we won't be there. When have you ever been there for me? The silence stretched long enough that I could hear other resort guests murmuring in the background. We raised you, Dad shouted. You raised me to be your backup plan, your emergency fund, your house sitter. Well, congratulations, you finally pushed me too far. I could see Jerry approaching them again with the security guards. Folks, time's up. We need a resolution now. Linda, Lexis screamed, please. Figure it out yourselves. I hung up and immediately blocked that number too. Sarah was staring at me with something like awe. I have never seen anything like that in my life. I can't believe I just did that. I can't believe you didn't do it sooner. My phone buzzed with a text from Naomi. Holy shit, Linda. They're being escorted out by security. Lexis is having a complete breakdown. People are definitely filming this. Then another. Your mum just screamed, "This is all Linda's fault," loud enough for the whole lobby to hear. And another. I'm staying. I paid my own way and I'm not involved in this mess. But Linda, I think you did the right thing. I screenshot Naomi's messages and sent them to Sarah. Your cousin seems cool. She's the only one with any sense. My phone rang one more time, another unknown number. Don't answer it, Sarah said. But I was curious. I picked up. Linda? It was a voice I didn't recognize. This is Channel 7 News. We understand there was an incident at Coral Bay Resort involving your family. Would you like to comment? I hung up immediately. Oh shit, Sarah said. It's going public. What do you mean? Someone must have posted the videos online. If the news is calling you. She was already pulling up social media on her phone. Look at this. She showed me a TikTok video titled, Entitled Family Gets Kicked Out of Luxury Resort. It had been posted 20 minutes ago and already had 50,000 views. The video showed my family being escorted through the lobby by security, Lexis sobbing dramatically, Mum shouting about how this was all a misunderstanding. The comments were brutal. This is what happens when you live beyond your means. The entitlement is unreal. That girl crying is a whole mood, but not in a good way. I would die of embarrassment. Linda, Sarah said quietly, I think you just won. By Monday morning, the videos had gone viral. Sarah showed me the numbers over coffee. 3 million views across TikTok, Instagram and Twitter. Someone had even made it into a meme. Look at this one, she said, showing me her phone. It's Lexis crying with the caption, when you realise other people's money runs out. I was scrolling through the comments when my phone rang. My principal, Mrs. Rodriguez. Linda, I need you to come in early today. We need to talk. My stomach dropped. Is everything okay? Just come in. My office 7:30. She hung up without explanation. Shit, I said to Sarah. This is about the videos, isn't it? Maybe not. Maybe it's something else. But we both knew it wasn't. I got to school 45 minutes early, my hands shaking as I walked to the main office. Mrs. Rodriguez was waiting with a cup of coffee and a grim expression. Sit down, Linda. I sat. I got a very interesting phone call this weekend from your mother. Of course she did. She's claiming you committed credit card fraud and that you're under investigation by the police. That's not true. She also said you've been stealing from your family for years and that you're mentally unstable. None of that is true. Mrs. Rodriguez leaned back in her chair. I figured as much. Your mother was very dramatic. But Linda, there are videos all over social media. Students are talking about it. Parents are asking questions. I can explain. I don't need you to explain. I need you to understand that this is a problem. The school board is concerned about negative publicity. Are you firing me? No, but you're going to take a few days off while this blows over. Paid leave. Let the internet find something else to obsess over. Relief flooded through me. Thank you. Linda, off the record, your family sounds like a nightmare. But on the record, you need to be careful. This kind of attention can follow you. I was walking to my car when my phone rang. Unknown number. Linda, this is Detective Martinez with the County Sheriff's Office. We need to speak with you about a fraud complaint that was filed against you. My blood turned to ice. A fraud complaint? Yes, ma'am. Can you come to the station this afternoon? Am I under arrest? No, ma'am. We just need to get your side of the story. After I hung up, I called Sarah immediately. They filed a police report against me. What? Those bastards? I have to go to the police station this afternoon. I'm coming with you, and we're bringing every piece of evidence we have. I spent the morning gathering everything, the printed text messages, bank statements, the resort confirmation emails, screenshots of my family's social media posts bragging about the vacation. By the time Sarah picked me up, I had a folder thick with documentation. Detective Martinez was younger than I expected, maybe early 30s, with kind eyes and a no-nonsense attitude. Miss Linda, I understand your family filed a complaint claiming you falsely reported your credit card as stolen. That's correct. And they're saying you gave them permission to use the card? I did not. I laid out everything, the excluded invitation, the missing card, the secret text messages, the charges I never authorized. Detective Martinez read through the text messages twice. These are from your mother and sister? Yes, I found them printed out in my father's office. Oh, and you have proof you were excluded from this vacation? I showed him screenshots of the family group chat, the posts about the vacation I wasn't invited to, Lexis's Instagram stories bragging about the trip. Miss Linda, this is pretty clear-cut. You were the victim of credit card fraud. So I'm not in trouble? No, ma'am. In fact, I'll be recommending charges against your family members. Charges? Credit card fraud? Identity theft? Possibly conspiracy. This is serious stuff. I felt dizzy. I don't want to press charges. I just wanted my money back. I understand, but the state might press charges anyway. This is a felony. When I got home, Naomi was sitting on my parents' front porch. Linda, thank God, I've been trying to reach you all day. What are you doing here? I thought you were still at the resort. I flew home this morning. I couldn't stay after everything. We went inside, and Naomi immediately started talking. Linda, it was so much worse after you hung up. They had to call their friends to wire money just to pay the hotel bill. Your dad was screaming at everyone. Lexis locked herself in the bathroom for 3 hours. How did they finally pay? Mum had to call her sister in California and beg for a loan. It was humiliating. Good. But Linda, they're not done. They're telling everyone you're mentally ill. They're saying you've been stealing from them for years and that this was revenge. The detective already told me they filed a police report. They did more than that. They called your school, your landlord, even some of your friends. They're trying to destroy your reputation. My phone buzzed with a text from my landlord. Linda, I received a concerning call about you. Please call me when you get this. Then another from my friend Jessica. Hey, your mum called me asking weird questions about your mental health. What's going on? They're trying to ruin my life, I said, showing Naomi the texts. I know. And Linda, there's something else. What? I recorded some of their conversations after you hung up, when they thought no one was listening. She pulled out her phone and played a recording. I could hear Mum's voice clearly. This is all Linda's fault. She's always been jealous of us. We need to make sure everyone knows she's unstable. Then Lexis. We should say she's been stealing from us for years. Make her look like the bad guy. And Dad? I'll call her work, her friends, everyone. By the time we're done, no one will believe her side. They planned this, I said, staring at the phone. They planned all of it. The vacation, using your card, and now destroying your reputation. Naomi, why are you showing me this? Because it's wrong. Because I've watched them treat you like garbage your whole life, and I'm tired of staying quiet. What do you want me to do with this? Whatever you want. But Linda, you have proof now. Proof that they're lying about everything. I looked at the recording, then at all the evidence spread across the coffee table. I want to call Detective Martinez. Good. And Naomi, thank you for finally standing up for me. I should have done it years ago. As I dialed the detective's number, I realized something had shifted. I wasn't just defending myself anymore. I was fighting back. And this time, I had ammunition. Detective Martinez listened to Naomi's recording 3 times before speaking. This changes everything. They're not just guilty of fraud, they're actively trying to obstruct justice by discrediting the victim. What happens now? I asked. Now we bring them in for questioning, all of them. Even Scarlett? If she was part of the conspiracy, yes. My phone had been buzzing non-stop with calls from unknown numbers. Finally, I answered one. Linda, this is Mum. We need to talk. Through lawyers? Don't be ridiculous. We're family. We can work this out. You called my boss and told her I was mentally ill. We're worried about you. This behaviour isn't normal. What behaviour? Standing up for myself? Destroying your family over money. It's sick. I put the phone on speaker so Naomi could hear. Mum, I have recordings of you planning to ruin my reputation. The silence stretched for 10 seconds. I don't know what you're talking about. Really? Because I have you on tape saying this is all my fault and that you need to make everyone think I'm unstable. That's taken out of context. What context makes that okay? Linda, you're being manipulated. Someone is turning you against your family. The only person who manipulated me was you for 31 years. We gave you everything. We raised you, fed you, clothed you. You gave me scraps and made me grateful for them. You excluded me from family events, made me feel worthless, and then stole my money when you thought I wouldn't fight back. We didn't steal anything. $23,000, Mum. That's what you stole. It's just money. It's my money. Money I saved by living in a tiny apartment and driving a 10-year-old car while you lived in your mansion and judged me for not being successful enough. Linda, please. No, I'm done. The police have everything. The recordings, the text messages, the bank records. You want to destroy my reputation? Go ahead, but I'm taking you down with me. I hung up and immediately blocked the number. Holy shit, Naomi said. I've never heard you talk to her like that. I've never been this angry before. My phone rang again. This time it was Lexis, calling from yet another unknown number. Linda, please, you have to stop this. The police called. They want to question me. Good. This is insane. It's just money. I'll pay you back. With what? Your Instagram sponsorships? Your fake lifestyle that's built on other people's money? It's not fake. Really? Because I looked up your engagement. The ring was rented. The venue was comped in exchange for posts. Even your dress was borrowed. How do you... I did my research, Lexis. Your whole life is fake. You're just jealous. Of what? Your credit card debt? Your fake friends? Your complete lack of integrity? I have a brand. I have followers. You have nothing. And after those videos went viral, you'll have even less. Linda, please, I'm begging you, call off the police. I can't call them off. They're doing their job. But I'm your sister. Sisters don't steal from each other. Sisters don't exclude each other from family vacations. Sisters don't try to destroy each other's lives when they get caught. I never meant for it to go this far. Yes, you did. You planned all of it. The vacation, the theft, the cover-up. I have recordings, Lexis. The line went quiet. What recordings? Naomi recorded you and Mom planning to destroy my reputation, planning to call my work and my friends and make them think I'm crazy. Naomi did what? She finally grew a spine and did the right thing. That little bitch. Don't you dare blame Naomi for your problems. She's the only one in this family with any decency left. Linda, I'm sorry, okay? I'm really sorry. Just please make this stop. It's too late for sorry. What do you want? Money? I'll get you the money. I want you to face the consequences of your actions. But the police should have been called years ago. Linda, please. I hung up. Within an hour, Cade called. Dude, what the hell? The cops want to talk to me too. Then talk to them. I didn't do anything. You spent $8,000 of my money at a casino. I was going to pay you back. When? With what money? I would have figured it out. Cade, you're 28 years old and you've never held a job for more than 6 months. Your podcast has 12 subscribers. What exactly were you going to pay me back with? I don't know, but I would have. No, you wouldn't have. You would have pretended it never happened, just like you always do. This is going to ruin my life. Good. Maybe it's time you learned that actions have consequences. Linda, come on, we're family. Family doesn't steal from family. It was just money. It was my money, money I needed, money I saved by living like a monk while you all lived like kings. We didn't know. You didn't care. There's a difference. Linda, please. No, I'm done protecting all of you from yourselves. I'm done being your safety net. I'm done being the family scapegoat. What's that supposed to mean? It means you're on your own, all of you. I hung up and turned to Naomi. How do you feel? She asked. Exhausted, but also free. They're going to keep calling. Let them. I'm not answering. They might show up here. Then I'll call the police. Linda, are you sure about this? Once you go down this road, there's no going back. I looked around my parents' house, the house I'd been cleaning and maintaining while they vacationed on my money, the house where I'd never felt welcome, the house full of family photos that rarely included me. I've been trying to go back my whole life, Naomi, back to a family that never wanted me in the first place. I'm tired of begging for scraps from people who see me as less than. So what now? Now I let the police do their job, and I start building a life that doesn't revolve around trying to earn love from people who are incapable of giving it. My phone buzzed with a text from Detective Martinez. We've scheduled interviews with all family members for tomorrow. Thank you for your cooperation. I showed Naomi the text. It's really happening, she said. Yeah, it is. For the first time in weeks, I felt like I could breathe. The police interviews happened on a Tuesday. I wasn't allowed to watch, but Detective Martinez called me afterward. Your family lawyered up fast, he said, but the evidence is overwhelming. The district attorney is moving forward with charges. What kind of charges? Credit card fraud, identity theft, conspiracy to commit fraud. Your brother's looking at additional charges for the casino spending. What happens now? Now they face the consequences. That evening, Naomi and I were packing up my parents' house when someone started pounding on the front door. Linda, open this door right now! Dad's voice boomed through the wood. Don't answer it, Naomi whispered. The pounding continued. I know you're in there. We need to talk. I called 911. This is Linda. I need police at 1247 Maple Drive. My family is harassing me and I have a restraining order pending. Officers are on the way. The pounding stopped. Through the window I could see Dad, Mum and Lexis huddled by their car, arguing in heated whispers. When the police arrived, Officer Chen— "Wait, that's not right." Officer Williams approached the door. "Miss Linda, we got your call." I explained the situation. He walked over to my family and had a brief conversation. I couldn't hear what was said, but I saw Dad's face turn red and Mum start crying. Officer Williams came back to the door. "They're leaving now, but ma'am, you might want to consider that restraining order sooner rather than later." "I will." After the police left, my phone started buzzing with texts from unknown numbers, all from my family using different phones. "Mum, you've destroyed this family. I hope you're happy." Lexis: "Everyone knows what you did. You'll never live this down." Cade: "Thanks for ruining my life over money, sis." Dad: "You're no daughter of mine." I screenshot all of them and sent them to Detective Martinez. His response was immediate. "This constitutes witness intimidation." Forwarding to DA. The next morning, Sarah brought coffee and newspapers. "You made the local paper," she said, spreading it on the kitchen table. The headline read, "Local family charged in credit card fraud scheme." There was a photo of Lexis from her Instagram, looking glamorous and fake. "Listen to this," Sarah said, reading aloud. The victim's own daughter reported the theft after discovering her family had excluded her from the vacation they were secretly charging to her credit card. Victim? That's weird to read. Why? I've never thought of myself as a victim before. Linda, you've been a victim your whole life. You just finally did something about it. My phone rang. Jerry from the resort. "Miss Linda, I wanted to update you on the situation. Your family's been banned from all our properties permanently." "Okay." Aggie also, "We've recovered some additional evidence. Security footage of your sister explicitly instructing staff to charge everything to Linda's card. We're forwarding it to the police." "Thank you." "Mom, I've been in hospitality for 20 years. I've never seen anything like what your family did. I'm sorry you had to go through that." After he hung up, I realized something had shifted. People were treating me with respect, like I mattered. Naomi walked into the kitchen carrying Princess. "I talked to my mom," she said. "She wants you to know that not everyone in the family agrees with what they did." "Your mum barely talks to me." She said she's ashamed she didn't speak up sooner. She's seen how they treated you at family gatherings. And she wants to invite you to Thanksgiving this year, just our side of the family. I stared at her. Really? Really, she said it's time someone in this family treated you like you belong. My phone buzzed with a call from Mrs. Rodriguez. "Linda, you can come back to work tomorrow. The school board reviewed everything and cleared you completely." "What about the rumours?" "What rumours? Everyone's seen the news. You're the victim here, not the perpetrator. Your students have been asking about you." "They have. They're proud of you for standing up for yourself. Apparently, you're trending on TikTok as the teacher who fought back." When I returned to school, something amazing happened. My students treated me like a hero. "Miss Linda!" Ashley ran up to me before first period. "We saw the videos. You totally owned your family." "Ashley, that's not really." "No, seriously, my mum said you did exactly what she would have done. She said your family sounds awful." Other students chimed in. "My dad said $23,000 is like a whole car." "I can't believe they excluded you and then used your money. You're like famous now." During lunch, my colleague Janet sat down next to me. "Linda, I owe you an apology." "For what?" "I always thought you were just quiet, withdrawn. I didn't realize you were dealing with family abuse." "It wasn't abuse." "Linda, what they did to you was absolutely abuse. Financial abuse, emotional abuse, psychological manipulation. I'm glad you finally fought back. That afternoon, Detective Martinez called with an update. Your mother and sister pled guilty to avoid trial. They're getting probation and have to pay full restitution plus penalties. What about Cade and Dad? Your brother's going to trial. The casino charges make his case more serious. Your father, his lawyer's trying to work out a plea deal. And Scarlett? Charges dropped. She cooperated fully and provided additional evidence against your family. What kind of evidence? Text messages where your sister bragged about using Linda's emergency fund for emergencies that were actually fun. Even Scarlett had turned on them. That evening, I was grading papers when Naomi knocked on the door. I have something for you, she said, holding out an envelope. Inside was a check for $25,000. What is this? Restitution plus interest and penalties. The court ordered it. I stared at the check. More money than I'd ever seen at once. Naomi, what am I supposed to do with this? Whatever you want. It's yours. It was always yours. I was thinking, maybe I could put a down payment on a house. That sounds perfect. And maybe I could host Thanksgiving this year, in my own place. I'd love that. As Naomi left, I looked around my tiny apartment. For the first time in my life, it felt like home. Not because it was fancy or impressive, but because it was mine. Earned with my own money, filled with my own things, shared with people who actually wanted to be there. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. I almost ignored it, but something made me look. It was from Lexis. I'm sorry. Just 2 words. No explanation, no excuses, no manipulation. I stared at the message for a long time, then deleted it without responding. Some apologies come too late. Some bridges, once burned, can't be rebuilt. And sometimes that's exactly how it should be. Princess, who I'd somehow ended up keeping after my parents couldn't afford her care anymore, jumped onto my lap and settled in for the evening. What do you think, Princess? Ready to start over? She licked my hand, and I took that as a yes. Outside, it started to rain, but inside, everything felt warm and bright, and finally, mine.
I stared at my phone, fingers trembling, as I scrolled through the Instagram photos. There they all were. Mom, Scarlett, Dad, and Solomon, my ex, sitting around a beautifully set table at Vincenzo's, raising their glasses in a toast to my father's 60th birthday. A birthday dinner I hadn't even known was happening. My name is Nicole, and I just discovered I'm the only member of my family who wasn't invited to celebrate my own father's milestone birthday. Just a casual last-minute thing, sweetie, Mom's text read, coming in suspiciously fast after I'd viewed her story. You know how these impromptu gatherings go. Impromptu. Right. I zoomed in on the wine bottle in the background, a 2015 Brunello di Montalcino, the exact wine I'd helped Dad pick out 3 weeks ago when he called asking for recommendations for a special occasion. Everything okay? My best friend Cora's voice cut through my spiraling thoughts. We were supposed to be having our weekly coffee catch-up, but I barely touched my latte. They invited Solomon, I managed, turning my phone to show her, to Dad's birthday dinner. Solomon, but not me. Cora's eyes widened as she took in the photos. That manipulative piece of... Wait, isn't that the restaurant your dad specifically asked about last month? Yep. I let out a hollow laugh. The one where I spent an hour researching their wine list for him. Guess now I know why. My phone buzzed again. Scarlett posting more photos. There she was, perfect as always, arm wrapped around Solomon's shoulders like he hadn't ghosted me after borrowing thousands of dollars. Like he hadn't spent our entire relationship convincing me I was lucky he even looked my way. Have you called your dad? Cora asked gently. What's the point? He'll just say Mom and Scarlett handled the guest list. He always stays out of it. I took a shaky breath. You know what the worst part is? This isn't even surprising. It's just confirmation. Of what? That I've always been the outsider, the one they include when it's convenient, exclude when it's not. I scrolled to another photo, Mom beaming at Solomon as he apparently told some hilarious story. Remember when I tried to tell them about the money he owed me? Mom said I was being dramatic. Scarlett said I probably misunderstood the arrangement. Cora reached across the table and squeezed my hand. Nicole, this is beyond messed up. You need to say something. My phone buzzed again. A text from Dad. Great wine recommendation, sweetheart. Really made the evening special. Something inside me snapped. The careful wall I'd built around years of dismissal and gaslighting crumbled. I thought about the folder in my email, the one labeled Solomon Legal. The one containing every manipulative message, every broken promise, every admission of debt. The one I'd kept, telling myself I was just being cautious. You know what? I said, straightening up. I think Dad's about to learn exactly how special his evening was. What are you thinking? Cora leaned forward, concern mixing with curiosity in her expression. Solomon's not at that dinner just to reminisce, I said, pieces clicking into place. He's there to pitch Dad on investing in something. Has to be. It's his pattern. Charm his way into money, then disappear when it's time to pay up. How do you know? I pulled up my email on my phone, finding the folder I hadn't opened in months. Because he told me himself, right here, I'll pay you back as soon as I secure my next investment. Oh, that was 8 months ago. Want to bet that's exactly what he's after now? Oh my God, Cora whispered, reading over my shoulder. You kept everything? Every email, every text, every bank transfer. I smiled, but there was no warmth in it. They thought they could just exclude me, like always, that I'd sit quietly with the hurt, like always. I looked up at Cora, but they forgot something important. What's that? I'm not that person anymore. I picked up my phone, opening a new email. And I have receipts. Cora watched me for a long moment, then nodded slowly. Do it. But Nicole, be ready. This isn't just going to hurt them. It's going to change everything. I thought about all the family dinners I'd sat through, swallowing my words. All the times Scarlett had talked over me, Mom had dismissed me, Dad had looked away. I thought about Solomon's smug face in those photos, knowing exactly what he was doing. Good, I said, and started typing. Back home, I sat cross-legged on my couch, laptop open, surrounded by the ghostly blue light of my screen. It was past midnight, but sleep wasn't an option. Not when I finally had purpose burning through my veins. Okay, Solomon, I muttered, opening the folder I'd labeled as my personal Pandora's box. Let's see what kind of story these tell. My phone lit up. Cora checking in. You sure about this? Never been more sure, I texted back. Already found some gems. The first email was from exactly 9 months ago. Solomon's desperate plea after I'd threatened legal action. Baby, please. You know I'm good for it. This new venture is going to be huge. I just need time to secure the right investors. Don't do anything rash. I screen grabbed it, creating a new document. The next email was even better. The $50K was always meant to be an investment, not a loan. You're making this weird by demanding repayment terms. My bitter laugh echoed in my empty apartment. Funny how it wasn't weird when he was begging for the money, swearing he'd pay me back with interest. Another message notification popped up. Scarlett this time. I almost ignored it, but curiosity won out. You're being really childish by ignoring Mom's texts. It was just dinner. Stop making everything about you. I added her message to my growing file. Context matters after all. My phone rang, startling me. Dad's name lit up the screen. Hey, sweetheart, he said when I answered. His voice had that slight slur that came with expensive wine. Just wanted to thank you again for the wine recommendation. Really impressed everyone. Everyone including Solomon? The words slipped out before I could stop them. A long pause. Ah, you saw the photos. Hard to miss them once they're all over Instagram. Nicole, he sighed. You know how your mother gets about these things. Solomon just happened to be in town and... Save it, Dad. I pulled up another email from Solomon, dated just 2 weeks ago. Quick question. Did he happen to mention a new tech venture? Something about revolutionary AI integration? The silence on the other end was deafening. How did you... Because I have the same pitch in my inbox from 8 months ago, right after he ghosted me with $50K of my money. I kept my voice steady. But I'm sure he's changed. I'm sure this time it's totally legitimate. Nicole, this is business. It's not personal. Really? Because excluding your daughter from your birthday dinner while inviting her fraudulent ex feels pretty personal. Another pause. What do you mean fraudulent? I smiled despite myself. Check your email in the morning, Dad. I think you'll find some interesting reading material. What are you... Good night, Dad. Happy birthday. I hung up and returned to my laptop. Opening Solomon's investor deck, forwarded to me by a friend in tech months ago, I found exactly what I expected. There, under risk assessment, was a single line that made my blood boil. Previous venture faced opposition from disgruntled former partner. Personal relationship, no legal merit. That's what I was to him. A footnote. A risk to be dismissed. My phone buzzed again. A text from Solomon himself. Heard you talk to Greg. Whatever you're thinking of doing, don't. We can work something out. I added his message to the file, then opened my email. The subject line was simple. What you need to know before tomorrow's investment meeting. Into the body I wrote, Dad, I've attached documentation of Solomon's pattern of financial manipulation, including bank statements, communication records, and evidence of similar behavior with other investors. I'm not sending this out of spite, but because I can't watch him do to you what he did to me. Love, Nicole. My cursor hovered over the send button. This would change everything, not just with Solomon, but with my entire family. Mom would be furious. Scarlett would never forgive me for ruining her perfect dinner's aftermath. Another Instagram notification popped up. Scarlett had posted yet another photo from dinner, captioned, "Nothing better than family time with the people who really matter." I clicked send. Immediately, my phone lit up with a call from Solomon. I declined it, watching as 3 more calls came in rapid succession. Then a text. You have no idea what you've just done. Actually, I whispered to my empty apartment, I know exactly what I've done. I closed my laptop, suddenly exhausted but lighter somehow. Tomorrow would bring chaos, but for tonight, I'd done what I should have done months ago. I'd chosen truth over peace, action over acceptance. I'd chosen myself. Sleep didn't come easy. I tossed and turned, checking my phone every few minutes. By 6 a.m., I gave up and made coffee, watching the sunrise paint my kitchen walls pink while notifications started rolling in. First, a missed call from Mom at 5:47 a.m. No voicemail. Then Scarlett, answer your phone right now. 3 more calls from Solomon, all declined. At 7:13, the email I'd been waiting for arrived. From Dad, we'll talk, thank you. 2 words that made my hands shake so hard, I nearly dropped my phone. Not the explosion I'd expected, not the dismissal I'd feared. Just, we'll talk, thank you. Cora called while I was still staring at those words. You doing okay? She asked. Your sister's been posting some pretty intense stuff. I pulled up Instagram. Scarlett had shared a series of cryptic stories. Some people will do anything for attention, followed by family means loyalty, and finally, the truth always comes out. She's not wrong about that last one, I said, surprising myself with a laugh. Nicole, Cora hesitated. Solomon's been calling me too, trying to get me to tell him where you live. My blood ran cold. What? Don't worry, I told him to get lost, but maybe stay at my place for a few days. Before I could answer, my phone buzzed with an incoming call from Dad. I have to take this, I told Cora. I'll call you back, I answered, heart pounding. Dad? The meeting's in an hour, he said without preamble. His voice was tight, controlled. I've already forwarded everything to Virgil. Virgil, Dad's friend and business advisor for 20 years. My stomach clenched. What did he say? He said I should thank you. Dad's voice cracked slightly. And that I should have asked more questions when you first mentioned problems with Solomon. Dad, No, let me finish. Your mother, she's been in contact with Solomon for months. Did you know that? The betrayal hit like a physical blow. No. She thought she was helping. Said you were just bitter about the breakup. That Solomon had changed. He took a shaky breath. I should have seen it. Should have asked why they were so insistent about that dinner. A text from Solomon flashed across my screen. Last chance to fix this. Dad, whatever he's offering you, it's not real. None of it is. I know that now. Papers rustled in the background. The investment meeting is just a formality. I'm not giving him a cent. But Nicole, this is going to get messy. Your mother's already talking about family loyalty, about how you've betrayed everyone's trust. I thought about all the times I'd stayed quiet for the sake of family loyalty. All the times I'd swallowed my truth to keep peace. Then let it get messy, I said. I'm done pretending. Good. The pride in his voice was something I hadn't heard in years. That's my girl. After we hung up, I finally listened to the voicemail Solomon had left at 3 a.m. You think you're so clever, don't you? Sending all that private correspondence, breaking confidence? I've got lawyers too, sweetheart, and they're going to tear you apart. You want to play dirty? Let's play. I forwarded the voicemail to Dad and Virgil, then called Cora back. I'm coming to get you, she said immediately. Pack a bag. You're staying with me. I can't hide from this. It's not hiding, it's being smart. Solomon's unhinged, your mom's on the warpath, and your sister's rallying her entire Instagram following against you. Take a breath. Let the dust settle. My phone pinged with a message from Virgil. Smart girl. Keep documenting everything. We've got your back. Another Instagram notification. Mom had finally broken her social media silence with a photo from last night's dinner, carefully cropped to show just her and Dad. Family is everything. Blood is thicker than water. Some truths shouldn't be told. I clicked through to the comments. Scarlett had already responded. Some people mistake revenge for righteousness. My fingers hovered over the keyboard, tempted to respond. Instead, I took a screenshot and added it to my growing file of documentation. Okay, I told Cora. I'll pack a bag, but I'm not running away. I'm just regrouping. That's my girl. I'll be there in 20. And Nicole? Yeah? I'm proud of you. This took guts. After hanging up, I looked around my apartment, at the life I'd built despite Solomon's betrayal, despite my family's dismissal. On my bookshelf sat a photo from years ago. Me, Mom, Dad, and Scarlett at the beach, all smiling. It felt like looking at strangers. I packed the photo too, a reminder of what I was fighting for, not the fantasy of what we were, but the truth of what we'd become. My phone buzzed one final time. Dad again. Meeting starting. Stand strong. I was pacing Cora's living room when Dad's call finally came. 3 hours had passed since the investment meeting was supposed to start. It's done, he said, sounding exhausted. And it was ugly. What happened? Solomon lost it. Completely lost it. Started yelling about betrayal, about how you'd violated his privacy. Then Virgil pulled up the SEC investigation. The what? I sank onto Cora's couch. Turns out we weren't the only ones looking into his business practices. When Virgil mentioned it, Solomon just snapped. Started threatening everyone. Security had to escort him out. My hands were shaking. Dad, I'm so sorry. Don't be. But Nicole? He took a deep breath. Your mother and sister were waiting in the lobby. They'd come to support Solomon. The betrayal felt like ice in my veins. Of course they did. It got worse. Your mother. She admitted she's been helping Solomon set this up for months. Said she was trying to fix things between you two. That's why they arranged the dinner. Fix things? I laughed bitterly. By ambushing you with an investment pitch from my fraudulent ex? I confronted them both. It didn't go well. My phone buzzed with an incoming text. Scarlett, I hope you're happy. You've destroyed everything. Mom's crying. Dad's not speaking to any of us. And Solomon's life is ruined. All because you couldn't handle being left out one time. Nicole? Dad's voice brought me back. Are you there? Yeah, I'm here. Just got a lovely message from Scarlett. She's angry. They both are. Your mother's saying I betrayed her by believing you over Solomon. Another text came through. From Mom this time. This was not your place. Some things should stay in the family. Funny how I'm only family when it's convenient, I said, forwarding the messages to Virgil as he'd instructed. I need some time, Dad said quietly, to think, to process. I've moved into the lake house for a while. Dad, no, listen. I'm proud of you for speaking up, but I need to figure out how I missed so much, how I let them. He trailed off. Just stay safe, okay? Solomon was saying some things. My phone lit up with a call from an unknown number. Speaking of which, I think his lawyers are calling now. Don't answer. Let them leave a message. And Nicole, I love you. Those 3 words, so rare from my father, made my eyes sting. After we hung up, I checked my voicemail. A clipped professional voice. Ms. Mason, this is regarding a cease and desist order and pending lawsuit for defamation and intentional interference with business relationships. Please have your lawyer contact our office immediately. Cora emerged from her kitchen with 2 glasses of wine. That bad? Solomon's suing me. Mom and Scarlett showed up to support him against Dad. And apparently there's an SEC investigation I knew nothing about. About that, Cora pulled out her laptop. Remember my friend who works in tech investment? She just sent me this. She turned the screen to show me a financial news website. The headline made my heart stop. Tech startup under investigation for fraudulent investment practices. Multiple victims coming forward. Holy shit, I whispered. Your email to your dad? It wasn't just about saving him. You might have helped expose something much bigger. My phone kept buzzing with notifications. Scarlett was on a posting spree. Stories, posts, comments all painting me as the villain, Solomon as the victim, herself as the loyal sister standing by truth and family. Mom had joined in too. A mother's heart breaks when children choose vengeance over love. They're really going all in on this narrative, aren't they? Cora said, reading over my shoulder. They always do. It's easier than facing the truth. A new email popped up from Virgil. Stay strong. Keep everything they send you. Your father's lawyer will be in touch tomorrow. Don't engage with anyone until then. I closed my social media apps and turned off notifications. The weight of everything, the lawsuit, the family chaos, the SEC investigation, pressed down on me. Hey, Cora said softly, handing me the wine. You did the right thing. Then why does it feel so awful? Because doing the right thing sometimes means breaking what was wrong, and that always hurts. I took a long sip of wine, thinking about Solomon's threats, Mom's cold dismissal, Scarlett's rage, about Dad, alone at the lake house, finally seeing the truth. You know what the worst part is? I said. Part of me still wishes they'd just invited me to dinner. Cora squeezed my hand. I know, but they didn't. And now everyone has to live with the consequences. 3 days at Cora's turned into a week. I worked remotely, designed logos for clients, and watched as Scarlett systematically rewrote our family history on social media. Just look at this, I said, showing Cora my phone over breakfast. She's posted a throwback photo from 2 years ago. Me, her, and Solomon at Christmas. Her caption, "Some people can't handle seeing others happy. Jealousy destroys families." The comments are brutal, Cora noted, scrolling through the responses. How many followers does she have now? Up 10,000 since this started. She's turning it into content. I laughed hollowly. Mom's helping, of course. Every passive-aggressive quote about forgiveness gets shared to her story. My phone rang. Dad's lawyer, Margaret. Good news, she said when I answered. Solomon's lawsuit is basically dead in the water. Everything you shared was documented communication, and his threats since then have only strengthened our position. What about the SEC thing? That's bigger than we initially thought. Multiple investors have come forward. Your father's evidence was just the tip of the iceberg. A notification popped up. Scarlett had posted again. The truth about my sister's vendetta against Solomon. Full story in my next post. They're really committed to this narrative, I told Margaret, that I'm just jealous and vindictive. Let them talk. Every post, every comment, it's all documentation. Speaking of which, your father wanted me to tell you he's filing for divorce. The words hit like a physical blow. What? The dinner was apparently the last straw. Finding out your mother orchestrated it all hid Solomon's true intentions. He's done. After hanging up, I sat in stunned silence until Cora brought me coffee. You okay? My parents are getting divorced. Because of me. No, Cora said firmly. Because your mom chose Solomon over her own family. Because she's been lying and manipulating everyone. My phone buzzed. Scarlett's promise expose had dropped. A carefully curated carousel of photos and screenshots painting me as unstable, jealous, vindictive. The final slide was a screenshot of a text I'd supposedly sent Solomon. I'll destroy you if it's the last thing I do. That's fake, I said, staring at the doctored message. She's actually creating fake evidence. Screenshot it, Cora advised. Send it to Margaret. Before I could, another notification appeared. A message from someone I hadn't heard from in months. Lisa, Solomon's ex-business partner. I saw what's happening, she wrote. I have proof he did the same thing to me. Would you like it? My hands shook as I replied, yes. Minutes later, my inbox filled with documents. Bank statements, contracts, emails. The same pattern, the same promises, the same threats when she tried to expose him. I forwarded everything to Margaret, then opened Instagram. Scarlett had posted again, when someone shows you who they are, believe them. My sister showed us her true colors. The irony was almost funny. My phone rang. Dad, you saw? I asked. I saw. Your mother's defending her, saying Scarlett's just protecting family. He sounded tired. I'm selling the house. Dad, I can't stay there. Not after everything. The lake house feels more like home now anyway. He paused. How are you holding up? Oh, you know, just watching my sister turn me into a social media villain while Mom cheers her on. Living the dream. Nicole. His voice softened. Come visit me this weekend. Just us. No drama. No phones. We can fish off the dock like when you were little. The invitation, so simple, so genuine, made my throat tight. I'd like that. After we hung up, I checked my email one last time. A message from Virgil. SEC wants to talk to you, formally. Your evidence combined with Lisa's, this is becoming a major case. Cora read over my shoulder. Still think you should have just stayed quiet? I thought about Mom and Scarlett, so desperate to maintain their perfect narrative that they'd destroy anyone who threatened it. About Solomon, whose house of cards was finally falling. About Dad, finding peace in his solitude. You know what's funny, I said? They thought excluding me from dinner was the punishment, but it was the wake-up call I needed. My phone lit up with another notification. Someone had tagged me in a comment on Scarlett's post. "Where's your sister's side of the story? Why are we only hearing your version?" I watched as more comments appeared, questioning the narrative, asking for proof. The tide was turning, slowly but surely. "Truth," I said, putting my phone down, "doesn't need an Instagram filter." Cora smiled. "Now that should be your next post." "No," I said, thinking of the lake house, of fishing, with Dad. "I think I'm done performing for their audience." The lake house looked exactly as I remembered. Weathered blue shutters, creaky screen door, and the old wooden dock stretching into calm waters. Dad was waiting on the porch with 2 cups of coffee when I pulled up. "You remembered the fishing gear?" he asked as I climbed the steps. "In the trunk, along with those disgusting cheese crackers you love." He smiled, but it didn't quite reach his eyes. Up close, I could see how tired he looked, how much older than just a few weeks ago. "We need to talk," he said, handing me a coffee, "about everything I missed." We settled into the ancient Adirondack chairs facing the lake. The morning sun painted everything gold, almost like nothing had changed. "When did it start?" he asked. "With Solomon, I mean." "The money?" I took a sip of coffee. "Or the manipulation?" "Both." I told him everything. How Solomon had slowly isolated me from friends. How he'd convinced me his financial troubles were temporary. How the loan had started as $5,000 and somehow became $50,000. "Why didn't you tell me sooner?" "I tried, Dad. Remember that dinner last Christmas when I mentioned Solomon owing me money? Mom said I was being dramatic. Scarlett said I was just bitter about the breakup. I hesitated. "I changed the subject," he finished quietly, "like I always did." A fish jumped in the lake, breaking the surface with a quiet splash. "I let them steamroll you," he continued, "for years. It was easier than dealing with your mother's intensity, with Scarlett's drama." He set his coffee down. "I failed you." "Dad." "No, let me finish. When I saw those emails you sent, saw the evidence of what he'd done, I realized I hadn't just failed to protect you. I'd helped them hurt you." My phone buzzed in my pocket, probably another notification from Scarlett's ongoing social media campaign. I ignored it. "You know what's weird?" I said. "If they just invited me to that dinner, none of this would have happened. Solomon would have gotten his investment. Mom would have gotten her perfect family facade, and I would have kept quiet, like always. And I would have lost everything," Dad added. "The investment, yes, but more than that. My chance to finally see the truth." My phone buzzed again. This time, Dad pulled his out too. "Ah," he said, "your mother's lawyers finally filed the divorce response." "How bad?" "She wants the house, half my business interests, and—" He laughed without humor. "She's claiming emotional distress from how I turned our daughter against the family." That's rich, coming from someone who invited my fraudulent ex to your birthday dinner. Speaking of Solomon, Dad pulled up an email on his phone. "Virgil sent this morning. The SEC investigation is going public next week. Multiple charges of investment fraud, wire fraud, securities violations. They're calling it a Ponzi scheme. Have you told Mom? She's not speaking to me, but Scarlett—" He showed me her latest Instagram story, a photo of her hugging Solomon, caption reading, "Standing by good people in bad times. The truth will prevail." "The truth already is prevailing," I said, "just not their version of it." Dad stood up suddenly. "Let's go fishing. All this." He waved at our phones. "It can wait. I want to hear about your life. The real stuff, not the drama. Your work, your dreams, everything I missed while I was playing peacekeeper." We spent the next few hours on the dock, fishing poles in hand, talking about everything and nothing. Dad told me about his plans to retire completely, to make the lake house his permanent home. I told him about my graphic design business, about the children's book I'd been secretly illustrating. You know what I remember? He said as the sun climbed higher. You used to sit out here for hours, drawing the birds. Your mother said you were wasting time, that you should focus on practical things like Scarlett did. I should have defended you then. You're defending me now. Too little? Too late? No, I said, thinking of all the alternate versions of this story, the one where I stayed quiet, the one where I gave in to their narrative, the one where nothing ever changed. I think it's right on time. My phone buzzed again, a message from Margaret. Solomon's lawyers want to discuss a settlement. They know what's coming with the SEC. How do you want to proceed? I showed Dad the message. Your call, he said, but whatever you decide, I'm with you this time. All the way. I looked out at the lake, at the future stretching out before us, messy and real and true. Tell them no deal, I said. Some things are worth more than money. Dad squeezed my shoulder. That's my girl. The SEC announcement hit like a tsunami. I watched from Cora's couch as Solomon's face appeared on every local news channel. The words multi-million-dollar investment fraud scrolling beneath his perfectly composed expression. Turn it up, Cora said, bringing in fresh coffee. Serial entrepreneur Solomon Davis faces multiple federal charges in what investigators are calling an elaborate Ponzi scheme targeting private investors, the anchor announced. Sources say the investigation was accelerated by evidence provided by former associates. My phone exploded with notifications. Scarlett had gone silent on Instagram for the first time in weeks. Mom, however, had not. Family stands together in crisis, her post read. The media doesn't know the whole story. But I do, I muttered, opening my email to find a message from Lisa. They're interviewing me tomorrow. You? Thursday, I typed back. How are you holding up? Better than Solomon. Did you see he's been dropped by his lawyers? Before I could respond, Dad called. You watching the news? He asked. Yeah. How's the fallout? Your mother's hysterical. Keeps saying we've ruined her standing in the community. Scarlett. He paused. Scarlett finally knows the truth. What do you mean? Virgil showed her the complete file. Everything. Including emails between Solomon and your mother from months ago, planning how to get me to invest. Turns out your mother reconnected with him right after your breakup. She's been grooming this situation for a while. The betrayal felt fresh all over again. Why? Money. Status. She thought having Solomon in the family, successful, connected Solomon, would give her the social standing she's always wanted. She never believed your warnings because she didn't want to. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number, Solomon. I hope you're happy. You've destroyed everything I built. I forwarded it to Margaret without responding. Nicole? Dad's voice brought me back. There's something else. Scarlett's here. What? At the lake house. She wants to talk to you. My heart pounded. Put her on. A moment of rustling. Then my sister's voice, smaller than I'd ever heard it. Hey, She took a shaky breath. I was wrong about everything. Mom showed me selected parts of messages, told me Solomon was the victim. I believed her because it was easier than admitting what we did to you. Scarlett? No, let me finish. I was horrible. The dinner, the social media campaign, all of it. I chose the pretty lie over my own sister. And now, she choked up, now Mom's still defending him, even with all the evidence. She's lost in her own reality, and I finally see it. I closed my eyes, feeling tears threaten. It's not just about the dinner. I know. It's years of us dismissing you, excluding you, making you feel crazy for telling the truth. I'm so sorry, Nicole. I know it's not enough, but I'm sorry. Before I could respond, my phone lit up with breaking news. Solomon Davis, arrested on federal charges, multiple victims come forward. Are you seeing this? Scarlett asked. Yeah. Mom's still at his lawyer's office trying to help his defense. She laughed bitterly. She really can't let go of her perfect narrative. Some people can't handle reality when it threatens their carefully constructed world, I said. I couldn't either, but I'm trying now. She paused. Can we talk in person? Maybe at that coffee shop you like? I thought about all the times I'd extended olive branches, all the times I'd been hurt. But I also thought about Dad, finally standing up for me, about truth, finally breaking through. Okay, I said. Tomorrow morning? Thank you, she whispered. After we hung up, Cora looked at me questioningly. You sure about this? No, I admitted, but I'm not doing it for her, or for Mom, or even for family harmony. I'm doing it because I want to know who my sister is when she's not playing a role in Mom's perfect family fantasy. My phone buzzed one final time. A message from Margaret. Solomon's taking a plea deal. Your testimony won't be needed. It's over. But it wasn't over. Not really. It was just beginning. The messy, honest work of rebuilding relationships on truth instead of pretense. Of learning who we all were without the masks we'd worn for so long. Hey, Cora said softly. Whatever happens tomorrow, I'm proud of you. I looked at the news coverage, at Solomon's mugshot, at Mom's desperate social media posts, at Scarlett's silence, at the whole tangled web of lies finally exposed to sunlight. You know what's funny, I said. They thought uninviting me to dinner would put me in my place. Instead, it gave me the courage to finally find my voice. Cora raised her coffee cup. To uninvited daughters who refused to stay quiet. I clinked my cup against hers. To truth in all its messy glory. The morning sun streamed through the windows of Maple Coffee House as I waited for Scarlett. My phone buzzed with news alerts. Solomon Davis pleads guilty. And tech investment scheme claims multiple victims. The bell above the door chimed. Scarlett walked in without her usual perfect makeup and Instagram-ready outfit. She looked younger somehow, more like the sister I remembered from childhood. I ordered your usual, I said as she sat down. Oat milk latte, extra shot. You remembered. She wrapped her hands around the mug. I just came from Mom's. How is she? Still in denial. She's convinced Solomon was framed, that you manipulated everyone. Scarlett stared into her coffee. She wanted me to help her start a fundraiser for his legal fees. And I said no. For the first time in my life, I told her no. She looked up at me. She didn't take it well. I can imagine. The thing is, Nicole, Scarlett's voice cracked. Watching her spiral, seeing how she twists reality to fit her narrative, it made me realize I was becoming just like her. The social media campaigns, the fake screenshots, the constant performance of perfection. It's exhausting, isn't it? God, yes. She pulled out her phone, showing me her Instagram profile. I deleted everything. All the posts about you, about Solomon, about our perfect family. It felt freeing. My own phone lit up with a text from Dad. Moving trucks at the house today. Your mother's leaving. I showed it to Scarlett. Good, she said firmly. Maybe without her influence, we can... She hesitated. We can try to be real sisters again, if you want. The barista brought our pastries, chocolate croissants, another childhood favorite we used to share. It won't be easy, I said. There's a lot of hurt. I know, but I'm willing to do the work. Real work, not just pretty Instagram apologies. My phone buzzed again. Virgil this time. Settlement papers ready for review. Solomon's assets frozen. You'll get your money back. The funny thing is, I said, putting my phone down, the money doesn't even matter anymore. What matters is that the truth finally came out. Truth, Scarlett repeated thoughtfully. Remember when we were kids and we'd hide under the dock at the lake house? Just us, telling secrets? Before Mom decided secrets were better kept buried. Before I learned to perform instead of live. Scarlett broke the croissant in half, offering me a piece like we used to. Dad invited me to stay at the lake house for a while. Said he's turning the old boathouse into an art studio. For his retirement? For you. He said it's time you had space to create without judgment. Something warm bloomed in my chest. Really? He's trying. We both are. Scarlett pulled an envelope from her bag, which is why I brought this. Inside was a stack of papers, printouts of every false social media post she'd made about me, every manipulated screenshot, every lie. I'm going to post a public retraction, she said, the whole truth. About Solomon, about Mom, about how we treated you. No filters, no performance. You don't have to. Yes, I do. Not for likes or followers or Mom's approval. For us. My phone lit up one last time. A message from Mom. I hope you're satisfied with the family you've destroyed. Scarlett saw it too. She'll never change, will she? Probably not. But we can. To change, Scarlett raised her coffee cup, and to second chances. Later that evening, as I packed boxes for my temporary move to the lake house, Cora helped me sort through old photos. Look at this, she said, holding up a picture from the dock. 2 little girls with gap-toothed smiles, holding up a fish nearly as big as they were. Before the performance, I said, before the perfect family facade. And now, I showed her Scarlett's latest post, a simple, unfiltered photo of our coffee cups and broken croissant. Starting over, starting real, the truth about my sister. Think it'll last? Cora asked. I thought about Dad's art studio, about Scarlett's deleted posts, about Mom's crumbling fantasy world, about truth finally breaking free. I think, I said, packing the old doc photo carefully, we're finally ready to write our own story. No filters needed. Outside, the sun was setting, painting the sky in honest colors, not perfect, but beautiful in their chaos. Just like truth, just like family, just like healing. I picked up my phone and texted Scarlett. Dad's making his famous terrible chili at the lake house tomorrow. Want to help me tell him how awful it is? Her response came quickly. Only if we can hide under the dock after. I have more truths to tell. This time, when I smiled, it reached all the way to my heart.
Lila, don't play with your food, Nathan scolded, his eyes narrowing at our 10-year-old daughter. I tensed, bracing for another evening filled with his criticism. As I opened my mouth to defend Lila, she abruptly pushed her plate aside, the contents spilling onto the pristine tablecloth. I'm sorry, Daddy, she said, her voice trembling. I didn't mean to. Nathan slammed his fist on the table, making us both flinch. How many times have I told you? We don't waste food in this household. My heart raced as his face reddened, the vein on his forehead pulsing. I knew that look all too well, the precursor to his rage. Before I could intervene, Lila's small hand reached out and knocked over Nathan's prized baseball, signed by Babe Ruth himself. It rolled off the table and hit the floor with a sickening thud. Time seemed to freeze as Nathan's eyes widened in disbelief. He turned his glare towards Lila, who shrank in her chair. You little brat! Do you have any idea how much that's worth? As he rose from his seat, I placed a trembling hand on his arm. Nathan, please. It was an accident. He shrugged me off, his attention fixated on our daughter. This is unacceptable behavior, Lila. You need to learn some respect. Lila's lips quivered and tears streamed down her cheeks. I'm sorry, Daddy. I'm really, really sorry. To my horror, Nathan reached for his belt, and I knew what would come next. It was a pattern I'd witnessed countless times, his escalating rage followed by physical punishment under the guise of discipline. But this time, something shifted in Lila's eyes. Her tears stopped, and she straightened her back, her gaze locking with Nathan's. No, Daddy. I won't let you hurt Mommy anymore. My breath caught in my throat as Lila's words hung in the air like a heavy curtain, lifting to reveal the ugly truth I'd been denying for years. Nathan froze, his face contorted in rage and confusion. What did you say? Lila turned to me, her expression a mixture of determination and sorrow, Mommy, I've seen the way he treats you, the yelling, the pushing, the bruises you try to hide. It's not right. My carefully constructed facade crumbled as tears spilled down my cheeks. All the times I'd made excuses, all the lies I'd told myself and others, they unraveled in that single heart-wrenching moment. Nathan's face drained of color as he stared at us, his mouth agape. For once, he was speechless, stripped of his control and power. In that surreal silence, I realized that my sweet, brave daughter had given me the strength I'd been lacking all these years. The strength to face the truth, to protect her, and to break free from the cycle of abuse that had become my life. As I wrapped my arms around Lila, holding her close, I knew our lives would never be the same. But for the first time in a long time, I felt a glimmer of hope. A hope for a future free from fear and oppression. A future where love triumphed over violence. The shattered remains of Nathan's prized baseball lay scattered on the floor, a fitting metaphor for the illusion that had just been destroyed. And in that moment, I vowed to never let anyone control or diminish me again. The aftermath of that fateful dinner was like a bomb going off in our household. The silence that followed Lila's revelation was deafening, broken only by the occasional clatter as Nathan paced back and forth, running his hands through his disheveled hair. "How dare you?" he seethed, shooting daggers at Lila with his eyes. "How dare you disrespect me like this in my own home?" Lila flinched, but held her ground. "I'm sorry, Daddy, but I won't let you hurt Mommy anymore." Nathan whirled to face me, his face contorted with rage. "Is this true, Janelle? Have you been filling her head with lies about me?" I swallowed hard, my heart pounding in my chest. This was the moment I dreaded for years, the confrontation that could either set me free or trap me further in his web of control. "No, Nathan," I said, my voice surprisingly steady. "Lila's telling the truth. I can't pretend anymore." His eyes narrowed, and he took a step towards me, his fists clenched at his sides. "Pretend? You think this is some kind of game?" Before he could advance further, Lila stepped between us, her small frame trembling but her eyes blazing with determination. "Don't you touch her!" Nathan recoiled as if struck, his expression a mix of disbelief and fury. "How dare you speak to me like that, you ungrateful little brat!" "Don't call her that!" I snapped, surprising even myself with the force of my words. Nathan's head whipped towards me, and for a moment I thought he might strike me, but something in my defiance seemed to give him pause. "This is your doing, Janelle," he hissed. "You've turned my own daughter against me." I shook my head, feeling a strange calm settle over me. "No, Nathan, I've done nothing but endure your rage and abuse for far too long. Lila's just the one brave enough to see the truth." His face reddened, and he opened his mouth to retort, but I held up a hand, cutting him off. "I'm done, Nathan. I'm done living in fear, walking on eggshells around you, making excuses for your behavior. It stops now." A flicker of uncertainty crossed his features, and for the first time I saw a crack in his armor of control. "You can't be serious," he scoffed. But his words lacked their usual conviction. "I've never been more serious in my life," I said, my voice steady and unwavering. "This ends tonight." Nathan's gaze darted between Lila and me, and I could see the realization setting in. The years of manipulation and mind games were unraveling before his very eyes. "You'll regret this," he spat, his words laced with venom. "You won't have a penny to your name. I'll make sure of it." I squared my shoulders, emboldened by a newfound strength I hadn't felt in years. "I don't care about your money, Nathan. All I care about is getting away from you and your abuse." His eyes widened, and for a moment I thought he might strike out in desperation. But Lila's unwavering stance seemed to give him pause, and he simply shook his head in disbelief. "Fine," he growled. "Get out, then. See how far you get without me." With those words, he turned on his heel and stormed out of the room, leaving Lila and me standing amidst the wreckage of our former lives. As I pulled my daughter into a tight embrace, tears of relief and determination streamed down my face. The facade had crumbled, and there was no turning back now. It was time to break free, no matter what it took. In the days following my confrontation with Nathan, the atmosphere in our home was thick with tension. He would often storm out without a word, returning late at night reeking of alcohol. Lila and I tiptoed around him, never knowing when his dormant rage might erupt. It was during this tumultuous time that I reconnected with an old friend, Mariah. We had drifted apart after I married Nathan, his controlling nature slowly isolating me from my support system. But when I finally found the courage to open up to Mariah about the truth of my marriage, she was a pillar of strength. "Janelle, you have to get out of there," she urged, her voice laced with concern over the video call. "What he's doing is abuse, plain and simple." I nodded, blinking back tears. "I know, but it's not that simple. He's threatened to take everything from me if I leave, including Lila." Mariah's eyes hardened with resolve. "Over my dead body. We'll find a way, Janelle. You and Lila deserve so much better than this." Her unwavering support was like a lifeline, giving me the courage to take the first tentative steps towards freedom. With Mariah's help, I began documenting every instance of Nathan's abuse, keeping a meticulous record of his outbursts, threats, and the rare but horrifying physical altercations. I started squirreling away what little money I could, opening a secret bank account in preparation for my eventual escape. Meanwhile, Lila and I began subtly undermining Nathan's control in small ways. We would accidentally leave doors unlocked, misplace his belongings, and question his decisions in front of others. It was a dangerous game, but one that slowly chipped away at his perceived dominance. "What's wrong with you two?" he would rage, his face contorted in fury. "Are you trying to make me look like a fool?" "Of course not, dear," I would reply, feigning innocence. "We're just a bit forgetful sometimes." Lila would nod solemnly, her big eyes guileless. Nathan would fume, his jaw clenched, but he could never quite catch us in an outright act of defiance. As the weeks passed, the tension in our home became a palpable force, like a gathering storm on the horizon. Nathan grew increasingly volatile, his temper igniting at the slightest provocation. It was during one of these outbursts that the final catalyst for our escape plan occurred. "You ungrateful wretches!" Nathan bellowed, slamming his fist on the table hard enough to make the dishes rattle. "After everything I've done for you, this is how you repay me?" Lila flinched, but I held her gaze steady, refusing to cower. "What exactly have you done for us, Nathan?" I asked, my voice deceptively calm. "Aside from making our lives a living hell." His eyes widened in disbelief, and for a moment I thought he might strike me. But Lila's small hand slipped into mine, anchoring me, and I felt a surge of strength. "You think you can intimidate us with your tantrums?" I continued, my voice growing in confidence. "Those days are over. We're not afraid of you anymore." Nathan's face turned an alarming shade of red, and he opened his mouth to unleash another torrent of abuse. But this time, I didn't let him. "Save your breath," I said, rising from the table. "We're leaving, Nathan, tonight." His eyes narrowed, and a cruel sneer twisted his lips. "You'll never make it without me. I'll find you, and when I do—" But I didn't let him finish. With Lila's hand in mine, I turned and walked away, leaving him sputtering in impotent rage behind us. As we packed our meager belongings, a sense of determination surged through me. The storm had gathered, and now it was time to weather it, no matter what stood in our way. In the days following our declaration to leave, Nathan's behavior became increasingly erratic and menacing. It was as if he sensed the impending loss of control, and it drove him into a frenzy of desperation. "You think you can just walk away from me?" he snarled one evening, cornering me in the kitchen while Lila was at school. "After everything I've given you?" I stood my ground, refusing to cower. "You've given us nothing but misery, Nathan. We deserve better." His eyes narrowed, and he took a step closer, invading my personal space. "Better? You ungrateful bitch. Without me, you'd be nothing." The stale scent of alcohol on his breath made my stomach churn, but I held firm, my heart pounding in my chest. "That's where you're wrong," I said, my voice steady despite the fear coursing through me. "Without you, we'll finally be free." A muscle twitched in his jaw, and for a moment I thought he might strike me. But then a cruel smile spread across his face, sending a chill down my spine. "Free?" he scoffed. "You'll never be free of me, Janelle. I own you, and I own that little brat of a daughter you've turned against me." My hands clenched into fists at my sides, and I had to bite back the urge to lash out. "You don't own us, Nathan," I ground out, my voice trembling with barely contained fury. "We're not your possessions." His smile twisted into a sneer, and he leaned in closer, his breath hot on my face. "We'll see about that." Before I could react, he grabbed my arm in a vice-like grip, his fingers digging into my flesh. I cried out in pain, instinctively trying to pull away, but he held fast. "Let go of me," I demanded, but my words only seemed to fuel his rage. "Or what?" he taunted, his eyes glinting with malice. "You'll run away like a scared little mouse? You're not going anywhere, Janelle, not until I say so." Panic clawed at my chest as I struggled against his iron grip, but it was no use. He was stronger, fueled by years of pent-up anger and a desperate need for control. Just when I thought I couldn't take any more, a small voice pierced the tension. "Daddy, stop! You're hurting her!" We both froze as Lila stepped into the kitchen, her eyes wide with fear and determination. Nathan's grip on my arm loosened slightly, but he didn't release me. "Stay out of this, Lila," he growled. "This is between your mother and me." But Lila didn't back down. "No, Daddy, it's not just about you anymore. We're leaving, and you can't stop us." Nathan's face contorted with rage, and he shoved me aside, turning his attention to our daughter. "You little brat! You think you can talk to me like that?" Before he could take a step towards her, I placed myself between them, my heart pounding with a mixture of fear and resolve. "Don't you dare touch her," I warned, my voice low and unwavering. Nathan's eyes widened in disbelief, and for a moment he seemed taken aback by my defiance. "Or what?" he sneered, but there was a flicker of uncertainty in his gaze. I squared my shoulders, drawing strength from Lila's unwavering presence behind me. "Or you'll regret it," I said, my words carrying a weight and conviction I'd never felt before. "This ends now, Nathan. One way or another, we're walking out of here, and you can't stop us." His eyes narrowed, and he clenched his fists at his sides, his whole body trembling with barely contained fury. For a moment I thought he might strike out in a blind rage. But then something shifted in his expression, a glimmer of realization that his power was slipping through his fingers like sand. With a snarl of impotent rage, he turned and stormed out of the kitchen, leaving Lila and me standing together, our bond stronger than ever. As I pulled my daughter into a fierce embrace, I knew that the tide had turned. Nathan's desperation had pushed us to our limits, and now there was no going back. The time for our escape had come. In the aftermath of Nathan's explosive outburst, Lila and I huddled together, our hearts still racing from the confrontation. It was a harsh reminder that our plan to escape had to move forward, no matter the risks. As I held my daughter close, trying to soothe her trembling, a sudden knock at the door made us both jump. My blood ran cold, fearing it was Nathan, returned to unleash his fury once more. But when I cautiously peered through the peephole, I was greeted by an unexpected sight. Nathan's business partner, Michael, shifting nervously on the doorstep. "Janelle," he said in a hushed voice when I cracked the door open. "I need to talk to you. It's important." I hesitated, glancing back at Lila, who nodded in silent encouragement. With trembling hands, I ushered Michael inside, my mind racing with possibilities. Once the door was closed, Michael didn't waste any time. "Janelle, I know what's been going on," he said, his voice laced with a mix of shame and determination. "The way Nathan treats you, the way he rules through fear and intimidation, it's not right." My heart skipped a beat as I processed his words. Had our struggles been visible to outsiders all along? Michael must have sensed my trepidation, for he pressed on. "I'm not the only one who's seen it, Janelle. There are others at the firm who know the truth about Nathan's behavior, both at home and at work." A flicker of hope ignited within me, even as dread coiled in my stomach. If Nathan's colleagues were aware of his true nature, it could either be our salvation or our downfall. "What do you mean?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. Michael's gaze hardened with resolve. "We've been documenting his actions, gathering evidence of his unethical practices and abuse of power. It's only a matter of time before the truth comes out and he's held accountable." I couldn't help but glance at Lila, a silent question in my eyes. She gave a slight nod, and I turned back to Michael, steeling my nerves. "And what does this have to do with us?" I asked, my voice stronger now. Michael's expression softened, a hint of sympathy in his eyes. "Janelle, we know what he's put you through, and we want to help." My breath caught in my throat as the weight of his words settled over me. Help, a lifeline we hadn't dared to hope for. "How?" I asked, my voice trembling with a mix of hope and trepidation. Michael reached into his jacket pocket and produced a small flash drive. "This contains evidence of Nathan's misdeeds, both personal and professional. enough to ensure he can never hurt you again. He extended the drive towards me, his gaze unwavering. Take it, Janelle. Use it to protect yourself and your daughter, and know that you have allies, even in the shadows. My hand trembled as I reached out and took the drive, its weight seeming to anchor me in that surreal moment. Allies. A concept so foreign yet so desperately needed. Thank you, I whispered, my voice thick with emotion. I don't know what to say. Michael shook his head, a grim smile tugging at his lips. Don't thank me, just promise me you'll use it to get away from him. For good. I nodded, resolute determination surging through me. I promise. As Michael turned to leave, he paused, his hand on the doorknob. One more thing, Janelle. Be careful. Nathan is a dangerous man, and he'll stop at nothing to maintain his control. His words sent a chill down my spine, but I refused to let fear rule me any longer. We'll be ready, I said, my voice steeled with conviction. Michael gave a solemn nod and slipped out into the night, leaving Lila and me to ponder our newfound allies and the weight of the evidence we now possessed. As I clutched the flash drive in my hand, I knew our escape plan had taken on a new urgency. The storm clouds were gathering, and this time we wouldn't be facing them alone. The weight of Michael's evidence, combined with the knowledge that we had allies working behind the scenes, lent a newfound sense of urgency to our escape plan. Lila and I knew we had to move quickly, before Nathan caught wind of the growing storm swirling around him. In the days that followed, we worked tirelessly, gathering what meager belongings we could carry and stockpiling supplies for our journey. Mariah remained our unwavering support, providing us with a safe haven to flee to once the time was right. Are you sure about this, Janelle? She asked one night, her voice hushed over the video call. Once you leave, there's no going back. I glanced at Lila, who was studiously packing her backpack with the essentials we'd need. Her eyes met mine, shining with a determination far beyond her years. I'm sure, I said, turning back to Mariah with a resolute nod. We can't live like this anymore. It's time to break free, no matter what it takes. Mariah's expression softened, a mixture of pride and concern etching her features. All right, just say the word, and I'll be there to pick you up. With our plans in motion, the tension in our household became almost palpable. Nathan seemed to sense the shift in the air, his eyes narrowing with suspicion whenever he caught Lila and me whispering together. What are you two up to? He would demand, his voice laced with barely contained fury. We would exchange a pointed look, then turn back to him with feigned innocence. Nothing, dear, just talking about school. His jaw would clench and his nostrils would flare, but he could never quite catch us in the act of our preparations. Finally, the night of our escape arrived. Nathan had stormed off after another explosive argument, leaving us a narrow window of opportunity to slip away undetected. Are you ready? I asked Lila, my heart pounding in my chest as we gathered our meager belongings. She nodded, her small face set in a mask of determination that both broke and swelled my heart. Ready, Mom. With trembling hands, I dialed Mariah's number, the burner phone feeling like a lifeline in my grasp. It's time, I whispered when she answered, my voice thick with a mix of fear and exhilaration. I'm on my way, Mariah responded, her voice steady and reassuring. Stay strong, Janelle, help is coming. As we waited for Mariah's arrival, every creak and groan of the old house seemed amplified, setting my nerves on edge. What if Nathan returned early? What if he caught us before we could escape? But then a familiar car pulled up outside, and Lila's small hand slipped into mine, anchoring me in the moment. Let's go, Mom, she said, her voice trembling but her eyes shining with determination. With a deep breath, I shouldered our meager belongings and followed my daughter out into the night, leaving behind the prison of our former life. As we slipped into Mariah's waiting car, I couldn't help but glance back at the house one last time. The curtains in Nathan's study fluttered, and for a fleeting moment I thought I saw his silhouette in the window, watching our escape. A shiver ran down my spine, but I refused to let fear take hold. Not this time. Drive, I said, my voice firm and unwavering. Mariah didn't need to be told twice. With a sharp nod, she peeled away from the curb, whisking us into the night and towards an uncertain future, but one that was ours to shape, free from Nathan's oppressive shadow. As the miles stretched between us and our former prison, I felt a weight lift from my shoulders, replaced by a sense of exhilaration and newfound determination. We were free. And nothing, not even Nathan's wrath, would ever shackle us again. In the weeks following our daring escape, Lila and I found ourselves constantly looking over our shoulders, half expecting Nathan to appear and drag us back into his web of control and abuse. But as the days turned into weeks, and we settled into our new life with Mariah's support, the constant fear gradually gave way to a sense of cautious hope. It was during this transition that the first cracks in Nathan's carefully constructed facade began to show. Whispers of his unethical business practices and abusive behavior started to circulate, fueled by the anonymous leaks of evidence from his former colleagues. At first, the rumors were little more than idle gossip, easily dismissed by Nathan's legal team and PR machine. But as more and more damning evidence came to light, the scrutiny intensified, quickly spiraling into a full-blown media firestorm. "Have you seen the news?" Mariah asked one morning, her voice laced with a mixture of triumph and concern as she handed me a newspaper. My heart skipped a beat as I took in the headlines, emblazoned across the front page: "Local businessmen accused of abuse and corporate misconduct." Accompanying the article was a grainy photo of Nathan, his face twisted in a snarl as he pushed past a crowd of reporters. The caption read, "Moore denies allegations, vows legal retaliation." I felt a surge of conflicting emotions, relief that the truth was finally coming to light, tempered by the lingering fear that Nathan's wrath would inevitably find us. "He's not going to let this go, is he?" I murmured, my fingers tracing the lines of his enraged expression. Mariah shook her head grimly. "Probably not, but we're ready for him, Janelle. He can't hurt you anymore." Her words were a sobering reminder of the allies we had in our corner, the ones who had risked everything to expose Nathan's misdeeds and provide us with the evidence we needed to protect ourselves. As the days wore on, the media frenzy around Nathan's scandals only intensified. Reporters camped outside his office and home, shouting questions and snapping photos, as he tried in vain to maintain his crumbling facade of control. "No comment," he would snarl, pushing his way through the throngs of journalists, his face contorted with fury. But the leaks kept coming, each new revelation more damning than the last. Evidence of financial misdeeds, sexual misconduct allegations, and even whispers of criminal activity. It was as if a floodgate had been opened, and Nathan's carefully curated image was being washed away by the torrent of truth. Through it all, Lila and I watched from the safety of our new home, a strange sense of karmic justice washing over us as we witnessed Nathan's downfall unfold. "He deserves it, doesn't he, Mom?" Lila asked one evening, her eyes glued to the news coverage of yet another damaging expose. I hesitated, torn between the desire for retribution and the lingering fear that Nathan's reach might still extend beyond our grasp. "I don't know, honey," I said finally, pulling her close. "But what I do know is that he can't hurt us anymore. We're safe, and that's all that matters." Lila nodded, her brow furrowed as she considered my words. Then a small smile tugged at the corners of her mouth. "I'm glad he's getting what he deserves," she said, her voice laced with a conviction far beyond her years. "After everything he did to us, it's only fair." As I looked into her eyes, shining with a newfound strength and resilience, I couldn't help but feel a swell of pride. My daughter, once so small and vulnerable in the face of Nathan's rage, had emerged as a fierce warrior, her spirit unbroken by the trials we'd endured. And in that moment, I knew that no matter what the future held, we would face it together, stronger, wiser, and forever free from the shackles of Nathan's oppression. His empire might crumble, his reputation lie in tatters, but we had something far more precious: our freedom, our dignity, and a bond that not even his most vicious attacks could sever. As the news continued to document Nathan's rapid descent into disgrace, a part of me couldn't help but revel in the sweet taste of revenge, not for myself, but for the countless others who had suffered under his tyranny. The monster had been exposed, and now he would reap the consequences of his actions, one devastating blow at a time. As the dust settled on Nathan's spectacular fall from grace, Lila and I found ourselves standing at a crossroads, faced with the daunting task of rebuilding our lives from the ashes of our former existence. "Where do we go from here, Mom?" Lila asked one evening as we sat together, the flickering glow of the TV illuminating her pensive expression. I exhaled slowly, pondering her question. For so long, our world had revolved around survival, dodging Nathan's fury, plotting our escape, clinging to the hope of freedom. But now that we had achieved that elusive goal, the path forward seemed simultaneously daunting and exhilarating. "Anywhere we want, honey," I said finally, reaching out to tuck a stray strand of hair behind her ear. "The world is ours now." A small smile tugged at the corners of Lila's mouth, and I saw a glimmer of the carefree child she had once been before the weight of Nathan's oppression had stolen her innocence. "I like the sound of that," she murmured, her eyes sparkling with newfound hope. In the weeks that followed, Lila and I made the difficult decision to leave our temporary sanctuary with Mariah and strike out on our own. As much as we were grateful for her unwavering support, we both felt the need to forge our own path, free from the lingering shadows of our past. With the help of the evidence provided by Nathan's former colleagues, I was able to secure a modest settlement from his rapidly crumbling empire. Not nearly enough to compensate for the years of torment, but a start nonetheless. And so, armed with our meager belongings and a newfound sense of determination, Lila and I set off for a fresh start in a new town, leaving the specter of Nathan's abuse firmly in our rearview mirror. As we settled into our cozy apartment, unpacking the few possessions we had managed to salvage, I couldn't help but marvel at the journey that had brought us to this point. The strength it had taken to break free, the courage to face the unknown, and the resilience to forge ahead in the face of overwhelming adversity. "Are you happy, Mom?" Lila asked one evening as we sat together on our second-hand couch, the scent of takeout pizza wafting through the air. I looked around our modest surroundings, taking in the mismatched furniture and the peeling paint on the walls. To an outsider, it might have seemed like a life of hardship and struggle. But in that moment, all I felt was a profound sense of contentment and gratitude. "Happier than I've been in a very long time," I replied, pulling her into a warm embrace. Lila snuggled against me, a contented sigh escaping her lips. "Me too, Mom. Me too." In the months that followed, Nathan's name faded from the headlines, his misdeeds and scandals replaced by the next sensational story du jour. But for us, his legacy lived on in the scars we bore, both physical and emotional, and the hard-won lessons we had etched into our souls. I would be lying if I said his shadow didn't linger, casting occasional doubts and fears across our newfound peace. But each time those whispers of the past threatened to overwhelm us, we would draw strength from the bond we had forged in the fires of our struggle. We were survivors, warriors, and above all, a family united by an unbreakable love that had carried us through the darkest of storms. And as I watched Lila blossom into a confident, compassionate young woman, her laughter ringing through our little apartment, I knew that our story was one of triumph over adversity, a testament to the indomitable spirit that had guided us to freedom. Nathan's reign of terror was over, his power and influence reduced to ashes. But from those ashes we had risen like a phoenix, our wings spread wide as we soared towards a future of our own making. And in that moment, I knew that no matter what challenges lay ahead, we would face them together, unbroken, unstoppable, and forever free.
The crystal wine glass shattered in my hand as the manila envelope hit the mahogany dining table. Blood trickled down my wrist, but I barely felt it. The pain was nothing compared to the humiliation burning through my chest as 20 pairs of eyes fixed on me. I'm Olive, and this was supposed to be just another Blake family Thanksgiving dinner. "What is this?" My voice came out steadier than I expected, though my fingers trembled as I reached for the envelope. "Divorce papers." Emerson's voice was flat, practiced. He'd rehearsed this moment, probably with his mother Eleanor watching approvingly from her throne-like chair at the head of the table. I thought it would be better to do this here, with family present. Better for whom? The question died in my throat as Cora, my sister-in-law, let out a poorly disguised snicker. She'd been waiting for this moment since the day Emerson and I got married. "You're serving me divorce papers at Thanksgiving dinner?" The words tasted like acid. The turkey and cranberry sauce on my plate suddenly looked obscene. "Well, darling," Eleanor's voice dripped with false sympathy, "we thought it would be easier this way. The family could provide emotional support." Allie, my best friend who'd insisted on coming with me this year, grabbed my hand under the table. Thank God she was here. Emotional support, I echoed, watching blood drip onto the pristine white tablecloth. Like the emotional support you showed when you called my art glorified finger painting last Christmas. Oh, come now, Cora chimed in, wine sloshing in her glass. Let's not pretend your little hobby was ever going to amount to anything. Remember that gallery showing where nobody bought a single piece? The room erupted in cruel laughter. Even the cousins I thought were on my side joined in. I looked at Emerson, searching for any trace of the man who'd once defended my passion for art, who'd helped me set up my studio in the guest house of this very estate. He wouldn't meet my eyes. I think what everyone's trying to say, Eleanor continued, dabbing her mouth with a napkin, is that it's time to face reality. You're not cut out for this family, Olive. We need someone more substantial. My hand brushed against my purse, where a folded document had been sitting for months. The deed to this very house, the Blake family estate, transferred to my name in a moment of drunken generosity by Emerson on our 5th anniversary. He'd forgotten about it by morning, but I'd quietly filed the paperwork. You're right, Eleanor. I stood up slowly, letting the blood drip freely onto her precious tablecloth. I'm not cut out for this family. I'm better than it. Excuse me? Emerson finally looked at me, his face flushing red. Allie, would you mind driving me to the emergency room? I seem to have cut myself. I turned to the stunned faces around the table. Oh, and Eleanor? You might want to get the tablecloth cleaned quickly. Bloodstains are such a nightmare to remove, almost as difficult as eviction notices. Eviction notices? Eleanor's fork clattered against her plate. What are you talking about? I smiled, feeling a strange calm settle over me. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone. Enjoy the turkey. It might be your last meal in this dining room. The silence that followed me out was deafening. As Allie helped me to her car, I heard the chaos erupting behind us. Raised voices, slamming doors, Emerson calling my name. Holy shit, Allie whispered as we pulled away from the estate. Are you okay? I watched the mansion shrink in the side mirror, its windows glowing warm and inviting. A facade, just like everything else about the Blakes. No, I answered honestly. But I will be. What did you mean about eviction notices? I pulled out the deed with my good hand, careful not to get blood on it. Remember when Emerson got drunk last year and started talking about how this house should belong to someone who actually appreciates its history? Allie's eyes widened as she glanced at the document. No way. Yes way. He signed over the deed that night. I've been sitting on it, wondering if I should tell him. I looked down at my bleeding hand. I guess now I know what to do with it. What are you thinking? The first genuine smile of the evening spread across my face. I'm thinking this place would make an excellent art gallery. After all, Eleanor always said this house needed more culture. As we drove toward the hospital, I felt something shift inside me. The humiliation was still there, but it was being replaced by something else. Determination. They wanted to break me? Fine. But they'd forgotten one crucial detail. Sometimes the best art comes from broken things. 7 stitches, I announced, holding up my bandaged hand as I walked into Allie's apartment. The doctor said I'm lucky I didn't sever any tendons. Lucky isn't exactly the word I'd use for anything that happened today. Allie handed me a glass of wine, in a plastic cup this time. Your phone's been blowing up, by the way. 23 missed calls from Emerson. I sank into her plush couch, exhausted. Let him sweat. So, are we going to talk about the nuclear bomb you're sitting on? Allie curled up in her armchair, tucking her feet under her. That deed is serious business, Olive. I know. I took a long sip of wine. I already called Riley. The lawyer? When? From the hospital. She's coming over first thing tomorrow morning. I pulled out my phone and finally looked at the messages. Oh, this is Rich. Listen to what Cora just sent. How dare you embarrass our family like this? After everything we've done for you? Allie snorted. Everything they've done for you? Like what? Criticize your art? Exclude you from family photos? Make snide comments about your clothes? The memories flooded back unbidden. Remember last summer's garden party? When Eleanor told all her friends I was the cleaning lady because she was embarrassed to introduce me as her daughter-in-law? God, yes. And Emerson just stood there pretending not to hear. He always just stood there. My voice cracked slightly. 5 years of marriage, and he never once truly stood up for me. The doorbell rang, making us both jump. Allie peeked through the peephole and cursed. "It's Emerson." "Olive!" His voice carried through the door. "I know you're in there. We need to talk." I shook my head at Allie, who called out, "She doesn't want to see you, Emerson. Go home." "This is ridiculous." Something thudded against the door, probably his fist. "You can't just threaten my family's home. That deed was a mistake, and you know it." I walked to the door, my heart pounding. A mistake? Like serving me divorce papers at Thanksgiving dinner was a mistake? That's different. I was trying to... To what? Humiliate me? Congratulations, mission accomplished. I pressed my bandaged hand against the door. But you know what's funny? While you were all laughing at my failed art career, I was quietly building something else. Something you didn't notice because you were too busy being ashamed of me. What are you talking about? My paintings might not sell, Emerson, but my art restoration business is doing just fine. I've been saving every penny, waiting for the right opportunity. I smiled, though he couldn't see it. Guess what? You just handed it to me. The silence on the other side of the door was deafening. Go home, I said finally. Talk to your lawyer. I'll be talking to mine. His footsteps retreated slowly, and I slumped against the wall. Art restoration business? Allie raised an eyebrow. Since when? Remember Francisco, my old art professor? I pulled out my phone and showed her my business website. He's been mentoring me for the past year. Turns out rich people will pay a fortune to have their family heirlooms restored. I've been working out of his studio. Allie scrolled through the site, her eyes widening. These are incredible. Why didn't you tell anyone? Because they never asked. I took my phone back. They were so convinced I was a failure, they never bothered to look closer. Even Emerson stopped asking about my hobby months ago. My phone buzzed with a text from Riley. Got your message. Reviewed the deed. It's ironclad. Meeting tomorrow at 9 a.m. to discuss options. Allie read the message over my shoulder. What exactly are you planning? I walked to the window, looking out at the city lights. That house has been a symbol of everything I'm not supposed to be. Everything the Blakes said I could never achieve. So I'm going to turn it into exactly what I am. An art gallery? Not just any gallery. I turned back to her, feeling more certain with every word. A restoration studio and gallery, a place where broken things become beautiful again, where the past gets a second chance to shine. They're going to fight you on this, Allie warned. Let them. I held up my bandaged hand. They've already drawn first blood. Now it's my turn. My phone buzzed again. Eleanor this time. You ungrateful little nobody. You have no idea what you're getting into. I showed the message to Allie, who whistled low. You know what this means, right? Yeah. I typed out a quick response. Actually, Eleanor, I do. See you in court. Then I blocked her number, and for the first time since that envelope hit the table, I felt truly free. Francisco's studio smelled like linseed oil and possibility. Morning light streamed through the tall windows, illuminating dust motes that danced around his latest restoration project, a Baroque frame that had seen better centuries. So, he said, setting down his tools, you finally told them to go to hell. Not in those exact words. I traced my fingers along the frame's intricate carvings, but close enough. Good. Francisco pulled up 2 stools. Now, tell me about this gallery idea of yours. I'd spent the morning with Riley, going over legal strategies. Now I needed something different, artistic vision. I pulled out my tablet and showed Francisco the floor plans of the Blake estate. The main hall could be the primary gallery space, I explained, zooming in. Those windows face north, perfect lighting. And look at these side rooms. Stop. Francisco held up a paint-stained hand. You're thinking too small. What do you mean? You're planning a gallery, yes? But what are you going to fill it with? He gestured around his studio. These restoration projects we do, they're not just about fixing broken art. They're about bringing stories back to life. Understanding dawned. You think I should showcase the restoration process itself? Exactly. His eyes lit up. Imagine, one wing shows the before pieces, damaged, forgotten works. Another shows the restoration in progress. And the main gallery? That's where you display the finished pieces in all their glory. Like a metaphor, I whispered. Breaking something down to build it back stronger. Now you're thinking like an artist. Francisco walked to a cabinet and pulled out a dusty canvas. Remember this? My throat tightened. It was my first attempted restoration. A landscape I'd nearly ruined before Francisco taught me the proper techniques. You were so afraid of making mistakes, he continued. But look at it now. The painting gleamed in the morning light, its colors more vibrant than the original artist had ever achieved. That's what I want, I said suddenly. I want to show people that broken things don't have to stay broken. That sometimes the restoration is more beautiful than the original. Francisco's phone buzzed. He glanced at it and frowned. Speaking of the Blakes, Eleanor's been calling me all morning. What? Why? Trying to convince me to talk you out of this. He chuckled. She offered to commission 3 pieces. What did you tell her? I told her I don't work with people who mock my best student. He squeezed my shoulder. Now, let's talk about your opening exhibition. My phone rang, Emerson's number. I declined the call. He's persistent, Francisco observed. He's desperate. The family lawyer probably told them how solid the deed is. I pulled out my sketchbook. But enough about them. I want to show you some ideas. Francisco stopped me again. Before you do, I have something for you. He disappeared into his storage room and returned with a large, covered canvas. I've been saving this for the right moment. He pulled off the sheet, and I gasped. It was one of my paintings from 2 years ago, a self-portrait I'd abandoned after Cora called it amateurish at a family dinner. You kept it? I restored it, he corrected. Added some touches here and there. Look closely. I stepped forward. The woman in the painting, me, stood in a shaft of light, her face half in shadow. But Francisco had added something, a subtle crown of gold leaf in her hair, barely visible except when the light hit it just right. You always had a queen inside you, he said softly. You just needed the right light to see it. Tears pricked my eyes. This has to be in the opening exhibition. Of course, but not alone. He grabbed a fresh canvas and set it on an easel. I think it's time for a companion piece. The queen claiming her throne, perhaps? My phone buzzed again. A text from Riley. Eleanor's lawyer reached out. They want to negotiate. I showed Francisco the message. He handed me a brush. What do you want to do? He asked. I dipped the brush in deep royal purple. I want to paint. Good answer. He set up his own canvas beside mine. Remember what I taught you about composition? The eye needs somewhere to land. And about color? Sometimes the boldest statement is the quietest shade. And about revenge? I paused, brush hovering over canvas. You never taught me about revenge. Yes, I did. He smiled. Every time we restored a painting that someone had given up on, every time we proved them wrong with beauty instead of anger. I looked at the blank canvas, then at my bandaged hand, then at the text from Riley. Finally, I looked at Francisco. Teach me more, I said. And as the morning light filled the studio, we began to paint my revenge. Not in blacks and reds, but in colors that would make even Eleanor Blake wish she'd seen my worth sooner. The cafe was exactly halfway between my apartment and the Blake estate, neutral territory. Emerson sat at a corner table, his usual crisp appearance slightly rumpled. 3 days of stubble shadowed his jaw, and his tie hung loose around his neck. You look terrible, I said, sliding into the seat across from him. Olive. He straightened up. Thank you for coming. You said it was important. I kept my bandaged hand visible on the table between us. A reminder. The waitress approached, but Emerson waved her away. I need you to stop this madness. Mother is beside herself. The house has been in our family for generations. Interesting. I tilted my head. Is that what you told yourself when you planned to serve me divorce papers at Thanksgiving dinner? Mother would approve of this? He had the grace to look uncomfortable. That was poorly handled. Poorly handled? I laughed, drawing looks from nearby tables. You humiliated me in front of your entire family. They laughed, Emerson. They laughed while I bled. I never meant what? For me to fight back? For me to be anything more than the disappointing artist wife you could never quite bring yourself to defend? He reached across the table for my hand. I pulled back. I have an offer, he said, switching tactics. The family is willing to buy the house from you. Name your price. Of course, everything was always about money with the Blakes. Not interested. Be reasonable, Olive. What are you going to do with a house that size? Turn it into some sort of... He waved his hand dismissively. Art space? Actually, yes. I pulled out my tablet and showed him Francisco's preliminary designs. The main hall will be the gallery. The east wing will house the restoration studio. The west wing will be... Stop! Emerson pinched the bridge of his nose. This is ridiculous. You can't just... Can't what? Succeed? Make something of myself? I leaned forward. Or is it that you can't stand the thought of me turning your precious family estate into something that actually matters? Mother will never allow this. Mother doesn't have a choice. I stood up. Neither do you. He grabbed my wrist. Wait, please. There's something else. I sat back down, curious despite myself. Cora's pregnant, he said quietly. She and her husband were supposed to move into the estate next month. It's tradition. The next generation always raises their children there. The news hit like a physical blow. Cora, who'd made my life hell for 5 years, was going to have everything she'd ever wanted. That's not my problem. Olive, please, if not for me, then for who? The family that never accepted me? The sister-in-law who mocked every piece of art I ever created? I pulled my wrist free. You know what tradition I'm starting? Being the first person in that house who actually creates something instead of just inheriting it. His face hardened. You're making a mistake. No, Emerson. I made a mistake 5 years ago when I married you. I stood again. Tell Cora congratulations. I'm sure she'll raise her child to be just as kind and accepting as the rest of you. This isn't over, he called after me as I walked away. Actually, it is. I turned back one last time. Oh, and you might want to warn your mother. The contractors start next week. I'd hate for all that construction noise to disturb her afternoon tea. Outside, I called Allie. How'd it go? She asked. About as well as expected. I started walking, needing to move. Did you know Cora's pregnant? What? No way. Yeah, apparently I'm destroying some grand family tradition by not letting them raise the next generation of entitled Blakes in that house. So what are you going to do? I stopped at a red light, watching people rush past. I'm going to create something beautiful in that house. Something that lasts. And maybe, years from now, Cora's kid will walk into my gallery and see that there's more to life than tradition and appearances. They're not going to make this easy, Allie warned. Good. I touched my healing hand. The best art never comes easy. My phone buzzed with a text from Francisco. Started working on the crown piece. Come see. I have to go, I told Allie. Time to make some art. Give 'em hell, she said. I smiled, already picturing Eleanor's face when the construction crews arrived. No, I'm going to give them beauty. That'll hurt them more. The light turned green, and I crossed the street, leaving the cafe and Emerson's desperate pleas behind. Ahead of me lay Francisco's studio, and beyond that, a future I was finally ready to paint for myself. The sound of power tools echoed through the Blake estate as workers transformed the space. I stood in what used to be Eleanor's precious formal dining room, now stripped bare except for my easel and canvases. The lighting system will be installed by Friday, the contractor said, checking his tablet. And the gallery rails are ready to go up as soon as we finish prepping the walls. Perfect. I stepped over cables and drop cloths to examine the north wall. And the security system? State of the art. Nobody's getting in here without your say-so. A commotion outside drew our attention. Through the window, I saw Eleanor standing at the front gate, gesturing wildly at the security guard. Speaking of which, I sighed. Excuse me a moment. I walked out to find Eleanor in full battle mode, designer handbag clutched like a weapon. "This is outrageous!" she shrieked. "That rent-a-cop won't let me into my own home." "Not your home anymore," I reminded her. "And his name is Marcus. He's former military and deserves respect." "You," she sputtered, face reddening. "You're destroying everything. Do you have any idea what you're doing to this family?" "Actually, I do." I gestured to the dumpster filled with her precious Victorian wallpaper. "I'm giving this house a purpose beyond hosting your toxic dinner parties." "How dare you?" "No, Eleanor, how dare you?" I stepped closer. "For 5 years, I tried to be good enough for your family. I smiled through your insults, endured your criticism, watched you turn my husband against me piece by piece. Emerson made his own choices." "Yes, he did. And so did I." I pulled out my phone and showed her Francisco's latest Instagram post. My restoration of a damaged Renaissance Madonna, now gleaming with new life. The post had over 50,000 likes. "What is this?" "This is what I've been doing while you were all laughing at my little hobby. Building a reputation, creating connections, proving that broken things can become masterpieces." A truck pulled up, carrying the custom gallery lighting. Eleanor watched, her perfectly manicured hands trembling. "The opening is in 3 weeks," I continued. "Critics from every major art publication will be here. They're particularly interested in my piece about family betrayal. You know, the one inspired by Thanksgiving? You wouldn't dare. Watch me." I nodded to Marcus, who stepped forward. "Now, unless you'd like to be escorted off the property, I suggest you leave. I have work to do." As Eleanor stormed off, Francisco appeared beside me, carrying a fresh canvas. "Nicely handled," he said. "Ready to get back to work?" Inside, I stood before my centerpiece, a massive triptych that dominated the main wall. The left panel showed a shattered wine glass, drops of blood-red wine frozen in mid-fall. The center panel was still in progress, a chaos of dark colors and sharp edges. The right panel remained blank. "I can't figure out how to end it," I admitted, picking up my brush. "Because you're not at the end yet." Francisco adjusted his glasses. "The story's still unfolding." My phone buzzed. A text from Ali. "OMG, you need to see this." She'd sent a link to Cora's social media post, a long rant about family loyalty and artistic sacrilege, complete with photos of the estate's ongoing transformation. The comments section was unexpectedly divided, with several prominent art world figures defending the renovation. "Look at this one." Francisco pointed to a comment from a famous gallery owner. "Bold vision. Can't wait to see the space." I smiled, adding a streak of gold to the central panel. "Think they'll come to the opening?" "They already RSVP'd, along with half the city's art scene." He squeezed my shoulder. "Your revenge is going viral, my dear." I stepped back, studying my work. The paint glistened, wet and alive, like an open wound healing into something beautiful. It's not just revenge anymore, I realized. It's resurrection. A crash from the foyer interrupted us. We rushed out to find one of Eleanor's old portraits had fallen, its frame cracked. "Should we restore it?" Francisco asked. I picked up the painting, running my fingers along its gilded frame. "No, this one stays broken. Sometimes we need reminders of what we're leaving behind." I propped it against the wall, next to my supplies. A visual contrast between the old world and the new one I was creating. 3 weeks, Francisco mused. "Think you'll be ready?" I dipped my brush in paint, the color of dawn. "I already am. They just don't know it yet." Returning to my triptych, I began to work on the final panel, finally seeing how it should end. Not with destruction or triumph, but with transformation. The moment when broken glass becomes a prism, scattering light in all directions. Behind me, the workers continued their symphony of renewal, and somewhere in the city, the Blakes plotted their next move. But here, in this room filled with possibility, I was already free. Opening night. The transformed Blake estate hummed with energy as hundreds of guests filtered through its renewed spaces. Crystal chandeliers cast warm light over exposed brick walls, and the scent of fresh paint mingled with expensive perfume. "Is that the director from the Modern?" Ali whispered, nudging me. "And oh my God, there's that famous art critic from the Times." I smoothed down my black dress, designer, purchased with restoration money. Focus, Allie. Any sign of the Blakes? Not yet, but... She stopped mid-sentence. Scratch that. Eleanor just walked in, and she brought reinforcements. Eleanor swept through the front door like an avenging angel, Cora and Emerson flanking her. She wore funeral black, as if mourning her former home. Cora's baby bump was visible under her tight red dress. Deep breath. Francisco appeared at my elbow, champagne in hand. Remember, this is your night. I watched Eleanor's face as she took in the changes. Gone were her precious antique wallpapers and stuffy portraits. In their place, clean gallery walls displayed my work, a journey of destruction and rebirth told through art. Ladies and gentlemen, Francisco's voice carried across the crowd, if I could have your attention, please. It's time for our artist to say a few words. The room quieted. I stepped onto the small platform we'd set up, feeling hundreds of eyes on me. Eleanor's glare could have frozen hell. Thank you all for coming tonight, I began. This house has a long history of tradition. For generations, it stood as a symbol of legacy and inheritance. Today, it begins a new chapter. I gestured to the walls around us. Each piece you see tells a story of transformation, of taking something broken and making it not just whole again, but better, different, true. The crowd murmured appreciatively. Several critics were taking notes. And now, I continued, I'd like to unveil the centerpiece of tonight's exhibition. Two assistants pulled the black cloth from the triptych. Gasps echoed through the room. In the final panel, I'd painted what looked like thousands of shards of broken glass, each one catching and reflecting light differently, creating a kaleidoscope of color and possibility. I call it Thanksgiving Grace, I said, looking directly at Eleanor. The art critic from the Times stepped forward. The emotional depth is stunning, the progression from destruction to transcendence. Tell us, what inspired this piece? Before I could answer, Eleanor's voice cut through the crowd. I'll tell you what inspired it. Spite, revenge. This entire spectacle is nothing but a tantrum from a woman who couldn't accept her place in our family. The room went silent. Cameras turned toward the drama unfolding. You're right, Eleanor, I said calmly. This is about not accepting my place. Because the place you tried to put me in was too small, too dark, too false. How dare you? No. My voice rang out stronger. How dare you come here and try to diminish this? Look around. Every person in this room sees the beauty I've created. Every critic, every collector, every artist. They all understand what you never could. And what's that? Cora sneered. That true legacy isn't about preserving the past. It's about transforming it into something meaningful. I gestured to the triptych. Every broken piece in these paintings came from something real. That wine glass from Thanksgiving. Those shattered frames you threw away. Even the tears I shed. They're all here, made beautiful. The Times critic was scribbling frantically. Eleanor's face had gone pale. You think you've won something here? She hissed. You've destroyed our home. No, Eleanor, I've given it purpose. I picked up a glass of champagne. To new beginnings. The crowd raised their glasses, effectively dismissing Eleanor's outburst. As conversations resumed, I watched Emerson lead his mother and sister away from the main gallery. Holy shit, Allie breathed. That was amazing. Francisco squeezed my shoulder. Look. A wealthy collector was placing a red dot next to the triptych, sold, for more money than I'd ever seen in my life. Around the room, other red dots were appearing next to my pieces. Olive? A quiet voice behind me. I turned to find Emerson. The divorce papers are on your lawyer's desk, I said before he could speak. Signed. I know, He looked around the transformed space. I never knew you could do all this. You never looked. I turned away from him, toward a group of admirers waiting to speak with me. Goodbye, Emerson. As I moved through my gallery, my space, my creation, I felt lighter with each step. The Blakes had tried to break me, but they'd only succeeded in helping me create something extraordinary. The Times critic caught my eye and raised his glass. Behind him, through the window, I could see Eleanor's car pulling away into the night. Let her go, I thought. The house had a new story now, and this one, finally, was mine to tell. Have you seen this? Allie burst into my studio, waving her tablet. The Times Review just dropped. I set down my restoration tools, carefully stepping away from the 18th century landscape I'd been working on. 1 week after the opening, and the buzz hadn't died down. Read it to me, I said, wiping my hands on my apron. In a stunning debut, artist and restoration expert Olive transforms family drama into transcendent art. The converted Blake estate now stands as a testament to rebirth, both architectural and personal. Allie looked up, grinning. It goes on like that for 3 paragraphs. My phone buzzed, Riley calling. Hold that thought. Turn on the news, Riley said without preamble. Channel 7. I grabbed the remote for the small TV I kept in the studio for background noise. The headline made my stomach drop. Prominent family faces financial scandal. Sources reveal that the Blake Investment Group has been under federal investigation for months, the reporter was saying. Eleanor Blake and her son Emerson are accused of mismanaging client funds. Oh my God. Allie's hand flew to her mouth. That's not all, Riley said through the phone. They've been using the estate as collateral for loans. If you hadn't gotten that deed when you did, the implications hit me like a physical blow. They would have lost the house anyway. Exactly. And any art or artifacts inside would have been seized as assets? On screen, footage showed Eleanor being escorted from her office building, head down, ignoring reporters' questions. Emerson was nowhere in sight. Where's Emerson? I asked Riley. Word is he's cooperating with investigators. Turned on his mother to save himself. Of course he had. Emerson had always been good at saving himself. My other line beeped, Cora's number. After a moment's hesitation, I switched calls. What do you want, Cora? Please. Her voice was thick with tears. I need your help. Why would I help you? Because I'm about to lose everything. She broke down, sobbing. The baby. I don't have anywhere to go. Francisco walked in, took one look at my face and mouthed, What's wrong? I held up a finger. Cora, I know I was horrible to you, she cut in. I was jealous. You had real talent, real passion, and I just had family money. Money that turned out to be stolen. I closed my eyes, remembering all the times she'd mocked my art, my dreams, my very existence in her perfect world. The guest house, I said finally. It's small, but it's clean. You can stay there until you figure things out. Silence on the line, then quietly, Why would you do this? Because I'm not you. I looked at my triptych hanging on the studio wall. And because sometimes broken things deserve a chance to be rebuilt. After hanging up, I filled Francisco and Allie in on everything. You're really going to help her? Allie asked incredulously. The guest house is where I used to paint, I said, running my hands over the antique frame I'd been restoring. It's where I learned who I really was, despite everything they did to break me. Maybe Cora needs that too. Francisco nodded approvingly. Speaking of rebuilding, he pulled out a newspaper clipping. The city's Historic Preservation Society wants to hire us. Apparently our work here has impressed them. My phone buzzed again. Another text from Riley. Eleanor's lawyer reached out. She wants to make a deal. No deals, I texted back. The house stays as it is. You know, Allie said, reading over my shoulder, you could probably buy their entire company for pennies now. I shook my head. I don't want their company. I want this. I gestured around the studio at the half-finished restorations and new works in progress. This is real. This matters. Through the window, I watched a car pull up. Cora, with a small suitcase. She looked lost, nothing like the proud woman who'd laughed at my pain just weeks ago. I should go help her get settled, I said. Are you sure about this? Allie asked one more time. I picked up a small painting from my workbench, a simple landscape I'd restored, where damage had left beautiful patterns in the aged varnish. Sometimes the cracks are what make something interesting. Francisco smiled. Go. Be interesting. As I walked out to meet Cora, I passed the spot where that wine glass had shattered on Thanksgiving. Now it was marked by a small brass plaque. Here begins the restoration. Karma had come for the Blakes, but not in the way I'd expected. And somehow, in the midst of their destruction, I'd found a way to create something lasting, something true, something that finally was completely my own. The colors need to be warmer here, Francisco said, pointing to a section of the newly restored painting. See how the light catches? I adjusted my magnifying glass, studying the brush strokes. The restoration studio hummed with activity, 3 apprentices working at their stations, Cora cataloging pieces at her desk by the window. The doorbell chimed. Through the security camera, I saw Eleanor standing at the gate. Want me to send her away? Cora offered, one hand resting on her very pregnant belly. No. I set down my tools. I'll handle this. Eleanor had aged years in just a few months. Her designer clothes were gone, replaced by simple slacks and a sweater. She clutched a familiar-looking canvas. What do you want, Eleanor? She held out the canvas. This was in my mother's attic. I thought, maybe you could restore it. I unwrapped the painting carefully. A wedding portrait. Eleanor and her late husband on their wedding day. The canvas was cracked, the colors dulled by decades of neglect. Why bring it to me? Because you're the best. She swallowed hard. And because I owe you an apology. I studied the painting without responding. I was wrong about you, she continued. About your talent, your vision, everything. I was so focused on preserving what was, I couldn't see what could be. Like your son's illegal activities? She flinched. I enabled him, protected him when I should have. She gestured at the transformed estate. You did what I never could. You made something new. Inside, I could see Cora watching us, her face unreadable. The restoration will take time, I said finally, and it won't be cheap. I understand. I can pay. No, I met her eyes. You'll work for it. We need someone to manage the gallery's administrative side. Cora's going on maternity leave soon. Eleanor stared at me, then at the building behind me, at the brass plaque, at the elegant gallery spaces visible through the windows, at her daughter working inside. You'd trust me? After everything? Trust is earned. I handed her a business card. Be here Monday at 9. We'll start with filing. As she turned to leave, I added, Eleanor, the painting, I'll make it beautiful again, but it won't be exactly the same. I know. She smiled sadly. Maybe that's the point. Back inside, Cora was waiting. You're really hiring her? Everyone deserves a chance to restore what's broken. I set the wedding portrait on my workbench. Even Eleanor. Even Emerson? He made his choices. I picked up my tools again. This is about making new choices. Francisco appeared with fresh coffee. Speaking of choices, the Historic Society called again. They want us to handle the restoration of the old theater downtown. Take it, I said. But first, help me with this. Together, we examined Eleanor's wedding portrait, pointing out areas that needed attention, discussing techniques. Through the window, I could see Eleanor still standing at the gate, looking up at the house she'd lost, and maybe finally seeing it for what it had become. My phone buzzed, a text from Emerson. I'm sorry for everything. I deleted it without responding. Some things weren't meant to be restored. Look at this detail, Francisco said, pointing to a tiny flower in the portrait's background. Almost invisible now, but once we bring it back, it'll change the whole composition, I finished. Exactly. He squeezed my shoulder. Just like you did. The afternoon light streamed through the windows, catching the gold leaf in my triptych, making it shimmer. Below it, new students worked on their own restorations, learning to see beauty in broken things. Cora waddled over with paperwork. The gallery bookings are full through next season, and that critic from the Times wants to do a follow-up piece. Tell him yes, I said, carefully beginning the cleaning process on Eleanor's portrait. But make sure he mentions our restoration school. That's the future. As I worked, I could feel the painting's history under my fingers. Decades of joy and pain, pride and loss, all waiting to be transformed, not erased, but renewed, made stronger by its scars, just like me. Ready to begin? Francisco asked, preparing his tools. I looked around my studio, at my students learning their craft, at Cora finding her place, at the space I'd created from the ashes of betrayal, at the legacy I was building, piece by restored piece. Yes, I said, dipping my brush in solvent. I'm ready. And as I began to work, bringing light back to Eleanor's forgotten memories, I realized that this moment, this place, this purpose, was the revenge I'd really wanted all along. Not destruction, but creation. Not endings, but beginnings. Not broken, but beautifully restored.